Hello, welcome everybody. How is everybody today? This is Neil with PortalToAscension. We just went live on YouTube and on Facebook, multiple YouTubes and Facebook. I'm just checking the stream, making sure that we're good and solid here before the official beginning begins. Okay, it does not seem like we're live on YouTube yet. There we go. Let the crowd come in a little more. We have quite a few people signed up for today. We have actually 400 people signed up for today. So I'm expecting maybe half of that will probably join in for the live event. And hello to everybody joining in on YouTube, PortalToAscension YouTube. Thank you all for joining in. If you want to come and be a part of the live Zoom room, there's a link in the description on Facebook and on YouTube, and you can go ahead and click the Zoom link and register and come in the room, or you can go to PortalToAscension.org and sign up there on the first page on the online events and join in. So hello, everybody. I'm extremely excited to be here today for this event. I've been anticipating this ever since the day I created it. Today, I feel really blessed to have the opportunity to convey a lot of information and research that I've gathered over, truly it's a lifetime, right? But it's been about 20 solid years of intentionally being in this information. And I have presented today's presentation 3 different times in the last 2 months. However, I only had 45 minutes to an hour to do it because I'm on all these other events, right? So what I've now have the opportunity to do is I wanted to do my own event, and I didn't want to charge for it. I wanted to have as many people as possible to, give this information out, but also so that I don't have any time limit really, because today is going to be an amazing variety show. Not only am I going to share music with you, some unreleased hip hop tracks that I'm putting together, conscious hip hop. We're going to be going over some spoken word pieces that are in alignment with today's topic that kind of explain some of the concepts that we're going to be discussing. And I have 130 slide presentation, and half of the slide, or maybe like a quarter or more, weren't even in my earlier presentations. I've built it out quite substantially to the point that it is at now. So I see more people are joining in the room. I'm just going to take a look at the chat room here and just kind of see where everybody's tuning in from, because I always love to know, where we are all at on or off planet. And I'll read some names out here. We got Thomas Garth from Millville and Jay. Hey, Thomas. Where else do we have here? And I do encourage you, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or in the Zoom room, please go ahead and use the chat, engage with each other, connect with each other, and ultimately share where you're from. Right. And change your settings, by the way, guys, logistical information, change your settings in the chat room to all panelists and attendees, The default right now is just panelists. So I'm the only one that can see it. Change it to all panelists and attendees if you want to be able to engage with everyone. We got Boston, Massachusetts in the house. Joanna from London, England. I was actually born in London. I was born in West London in Hounslow. We have Denver, Colorado. Colorado's I would say Colorado. I love Colorado as much as I love California. It's my second favorite place, but it's kind of equal to California, except I love the weather here all year round. And then we got Sedona, Arizona, Iowa, Philadelphia, Colleen from Philadelphia, Jody again from another person from London, Oregon, New York, with the Lovevolution people, nice. Philadelphia, Colleen, downtown LA, not too far from me. On planet Gaia, okay, Kingston, Washington. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here, everybody. I'm really excited to be spending some time with you for today. Today's presentation is on, it's kind of actually grown more than the topics than I said, galactic origins, dimensions, and black holes. But really, to add to that, it's white holes, UFO disclosure, evidence for life on other planets, space anomalies, how karma works, the cycles of incarnation, and if there's any evidence. Part of PortalToAscension, I never wanted to just preach to the choir, right? Because a lot of us are in the know already. And even though we're providing a lot of new information that are, maybe some individuals don't know, I want to get this out to the individuals in the world that maybe just do not want to believe it at all, that we're conscious beings or spiritual beings having a human experience, extraterrestrials exist. And what I've realized is part of my passion is providing that kind of information that shows how we're a conscious spiritual community, and there's a multi-dimensional reality out there, but through that lens of linear sciences as well, so that we can convince, it's not about convincing, but we can share this information with those that maybe say, no, this is all hogwash, this is all new age BS, but then lay it out with the evidence, right? And then people can make a more informed decision. So today, that is what we're going to share. And awesome. I see, Barbara, you said you're a member of Resonance Foundation. So you've probably actually been into the science component of this quite a lot. So I'd actually be very excited to hear your feedback after today's presentation. And what we're going to do is we're going to go on a journey, a ride, and it's going to be entertainment, some videos, poetry, music. And at the end, as long as we have time, which hopefully we do, whoever puts their hands up, I'm going to go ahead and bring you on camera, and you can, give feedback. You can ask a question or make a comment, okay? So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now, and we're going to get started in just a moment. Checking in on YouTube. We got Catherine Lucas in Sedona. We got Steve from Wales. I went to Wales once and on a horseback ride. And we got Higher Dimensions from Idaho. Okay, guys, so let's do this. Sharing screen. And just for fun, if you would like, let me know if you've ever attended, if you have never attended a Portal to Ascension event before, like an online webinar, let's say. If you come live to a live event, that's different. But if you haven't, put the number 1 in the room. So I'm curious to know how many first-time people there are, because I'll cater today's conversation really around that, so I don't have to give too much backstory if there's a lot. Most of you have been to one before. Okay, we have quite a few people that haven't. Welcome, Nancy, on YouTube from Maryland. And again, if you're joining on YouTube or Facebook, you can go to PortalToAscension.org. You can go to online events, and you can sign up to attend the Zoom room if that's what you want to do. Today's presentation, everybody, is entitled Galactic Origins, Dimensions, and Black Holes. And like I just said earlier, it's really more than that and expands more. But of course, YouTube and other platforms only allow me to enter a certain amount of characters, so I can't really explain it all. But this is kind of the 3 elements that I feel everything falls into, especially when we talk about black holes. And you can take it even deeper. Barbara just said she's part of Resonance Foundation. And I know Nassim Haramein and other researchers have said that in the center of all of our cells, there's a singularity, a black hole. So technically, by saying the word black hole, if we all exist and are in singularities, what are we talking about here is pretty much all of creation. So what I'm hoping today is to create a picture of my research and my mindset, what the dots that I've been connecting over the last 20 years intentionally to really figure out what is our place in the universe and is there evidence for this. I've been a skeptical minded person for quite a while in my life, to the point that it's not really easy to convince me. I don't take things just like that. So I feel like for me to even be in this field and researching this information, I don't take it lightly, because I'm not just one just to believe it. I really need to see evidence. And to me, a lot of times seeing is believing. Only recently, though, I have got to a place of belief of certain things that I know is not possible, right? Because seeing used to be believing for me, but now I realize it's all frequency, right? That there's frequencies I can't see and perceive, and we can quantify and we know that exists. And therefore, if we know that exists, now we know that seeing is no longer believing. So the concept of what is out there and what is possible is limitless, and that's what we're going to be exploring today. If you want to follow me for updates on Portal to Ascension, or if you want to follow my conscious hip-hop, spoken word, and poetry, I'm on Instagram right now at I_am_resonance, and at Portal to Ascension on Facebook at Portal to Ascension. Some other presentations that I've done in the past that you can check out right now for free on Portal to Ascension. One, that there's going to be some elements of this presentation in today's talk, which is creation stories of ancient civilizations. And in this presentation, I really dissect over 100 different creation stories and look at the similarities between them to see if there are connections, such as what are the similarities? Which ones are talking about sound and vibration? Which ones are talking about extraterrestrials? Which ones have metaphors for the sacred geometrical terminology? So that presentation is kind of like story time. Not only is it very informative and a lot of information that I didn't even know, or a lot of people don't know until I researched this, but it's also it's like you're basically sitting for 2.5 hour story of our ancient past, where I'm giving you these stories of the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Dogon, and so many more individuals. And you can find that on PortalToAscension right now for free, portaltoascension.org. There are hundreds of presentations. There are thousands of hours of footage that are available to every single person that has signed up for this, or just sign up for free, because it's free. All that content, you can just go to our website, you can sign up, and you can access it for free. And then we also do have paid webinars, of course. And another one is also for free on our website right now, is Journey Through the Maya Empire, a presentation I did back in January, in which which was my wife and myself, our journey through the Maya Empire and what we have discovered, but more of a practical guide, a practical journey to the Maya Empire, rather than specifically focusing on the esoteric. Because what we find in, UFO disclosure events, conferences, spiritual webinars, is that a lot of the information on the Maya have to do pretty much with the spirituality of the Maya. And even though it's all about the spirituality, and I do have that in this presentation, I really dissect the architecture, the ancient past, the interaction with other tribes, the practical information that we can quantify that know we exist, and also try to compare that to spiritual element. And then one other course that is coming up is on PortalToAscension now, guys. We're actually doing courses, and we did one with Alan Steinfeld on remote viewing that just ended. But now my wife and myself, we're going to be doing a sound healing training course, which is a 4-week course. And I'm going to show you probably later today, halfway in the presentation or at the end, but I'll go ahead and show you the event page. But if anybody's interested or even attended one of my sound vibration courses before or webinars before, if you want a 4-week in-depth training course with the science, the spirituality, the ancient history information, and practical information on how to utilize specific tools, you can check that out. So a little bit about PortalToAscension for those who don't know, and I'm going to kind of go through this fast because I think most of you probably have seen some level of this before. PortalToAscension, well, for myself, I was born and raised, as I said earlier, in London, England. I moved to the US, into Irvine, California, when I was 12 years old. I was born and raised in a Hindu family, and I did what I was told as an Indian child. I went to the temple, did the rites and rituals. I even sang what I call bhajans, which are hymns. I used to sing them as a young child, but I really didn't have like that firm belief, like I didn't know. I was just doing what I was basically told. And then I moved to the US, and I grew up here from 12 onwards. And then when I went to college, when I was 18 years old, I started writing poetry. Some of you have heard my poetry before. And this poetry, I started doing my own research on what I was writing in my poetry, and started finding all these different concepts on, the universe, quantum physics. I was writing things like that, things that I've never really explored before. And since I was doing that, I was searching it on the internet, and I found all these videos from, it started with Jordan Maxwell, Nassim Haramein. Nassim Haramein was the first video I watched back in 2001. I think it was a 17-hour video of him. And then like a talk on the Knights Templar and the Ark of the Covenant. That was Nassim Haramein. Then Jordan Maxwell, and then William Henry, who I work with extremely closely right now. I actually ordered William Henry's videos on Netflix in the beginning. Like, it was on Netflix, and would watch things on the Ark of the Covenant. And then I went deep into, Jim Self as well. I got to throw his name out there. So I went deep into this extraterrestrial phenomena, looking at the Sumerian scriptures, finding out that a lot of these ancient civilizations could actually be referring to and talking about these ancient civilizations could actually be talking about star beings, celestial beings, rather than gods and angels in the way that we kind of perceive what that really means. And to me, that made more sense that, we know there's a vast universe out there. We know that there's got to be other life out there, unless this is completely a hologram and that doesn't even exist. But there's got to be that going on out there. So to me, that's easier to understand and accept, that there are interdimensional entities, because dimensions exist for sure. There are extraterrestrials, because other planets definitely exist for sure, and the Goldilocks zones exist elsewhere. Then there was to really realize and say, okay, God exists, or maybe they're the same. And maybe that these beings had this technological know-how that made us perceive them to be these gods. So that was my understanding back in 2001, 2002, when I was 18, 19 years old. And then I just started going down the rabbit hole really for 6 years or so. I got deep into the conspiracies of all this information. I was in fear. I was afraid that the Illuminati was out to get me, right? And even though I was living, having a good life, chilling in college with my friends, I was happy. But when I was in this information, I really did like, I was telling people like, hey, we need to wake up. They're trying to get us. They're trying to get us, right? And then this fast forwarded up until around 2008 when I lost my job as a financial analyst. I was a financial analyst in 2008. The market crashed. I made a trade. My boss told me that he didn't approve it. I told him that he did approve it. The market crashed the next day. He lost all this money from it. It wasn't my fault, but he said it was. And then and then I got fired from that job as a financial analyst, and I was forced to not forced. I had to transition into, but it seemed like I was forced at the time. I had to transition into doing something more freelance because I needed to make money. So I started web design. I started learning how to do websites. And as I was doing websites, one of the first websites I created was PortalToAscension's website. And I started doing like putting this information out there. And that was around 2008 to 2009. And then in 2010 and 2011, we'd already picked up momentum. Some people knew who we were. We had a huge presence on social media. So I went ahead and did a few tours. One was called the Galactic Remembrance Tour, in which I went down from San Diego all the way to Vancouver and then Vancouver Island and then back down again with a couple of my friends and one friend, Brad Johnson, who channels a being called the Dronus that lives in Sirius, the constellation. And we would do like sound healings, and then he would do a Q&A channeling after that, and then also a sound and vibration tour, and another tour and a few other spontaneous events and conferences. So it was really building up momentum for the event production company that we actually became. Now, Cosmic Greeting 2012 and Fourth Density, we kept building up momentum, getting bigger and bigger. And then in 2012 and 2013, I did these two conferences. We were 3-day events, and we had quite a few people attend. Now, in the present, in the now moment, this is the current site that is about to be transitioned over to another website that I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to see. And you're going to be some of the first individuals to actually view the site before it's launched. But now we have around 110 events a year, conferences, retreats, tours. This is how the back end of the website currently looks. It's about to change and be a little bit more robust and more user-friendly even. But all of our footage is there, and there's around 10,000 hours of footage and about 3,000 hours of free presentations on every topic I could really have the opportunity to think of. And honestly, everything that I really thought of in the last 20 years, I've either created an event on or I've have it in my schedule of events in the next 2 years. So many of these events are actually 2 to 3 years in the making. This presentation that we're going to be going through today, I actually wanted to do this 2.5 years ago. I was like, I had it in my notes. I was like, to-do list, Galactic Origins presentation. But I've been so busy, it's really been a challenge to be able to figure out how to be creative with the presentations while I'm doing all the other things I'm doing. And now I'm finding a good balance, and here we are today. And you can view all types of things on our website, from ancient history to advanced technology, Ascension, conspiracies, and also you can search by speaker. So I'm going to take a breather here to take a look at the chat, see how everybody's doing. Okay, so before we get started here, I was thinking that why don't we all do some ohms together? And if you're into it, that's great. If not, you can just sit back and listen. And this is non-dogmatic ohming because we're just talking about the frequency of the universe here. And I think it's a good way to really harmonize. And I like doing this at the beginning of events, just to harmonize the events, set the intention for what we're going to experience. And I might have an opportunity to speak about this in the presentation, but the sound ohm is, like in the Vedic text and from other scholars, is the sound of the universe after the Big Bang. Basically, when the universe got created, the oscillation, the frequency, the sound that the conventional science says is Big Bang is Om. So today we are going to go deep into space, into the furthest part of the Milky Way galaxy, 30,000 years into the galactic center, over to the other side, and out into the cosmos. So what better way to start it out without saying, with saying Om, right? So let's all take a moment here and just relax and just breathe normally. Breathe normally through your nose and then out your mouth. In again through the nose. And out your mouth. And on the next inhale, we're going to start with the first Om. Inhale through the nose. Inhale again. One more time. Just breathe through the nose, out the mouth. Whenever you're ready, open your eyes. Let's do this. And we have 102 people in the Zoom room right now. We have about 60 people tuning in on social media. So we're going to be spreading this information far and wide right now. All right, everybody. Galactic origins, dimensions, and black holes. The real question is, why did I even want to do this presentation in the first place? And if it comes down to two elements, I can really break down maybe like 10 to 15 different questions that I had that really brought me to doing Portal to Ascension. But if there are two questions that have been in my mind for quite a couple decades at least for now, and even when I was a kid, really, I did contemplate these, is the questions that I think most of humanity may have. Or if they take time to even think about it, because we're so consumed with, the day-to-day mundane and the day-to-day tasks that a lot of us don't have the time to even think about this. But who are we, right? Like, what does that even mean? Who are we really? What are we? We're sentient conscious beings on this planet. We're walking around this planet. We're unable to interact and communicate with specific animals intentionally and consciously. We don't really remember anything except for this life, but we can now believe and we can even prove that past lives do exist. But why don't we remember that? Who are we? And then where did we come from? Did we evolve as just a regular being on this planet and one day become sentient through the usage of maybe psychedelic mushrooms, like one theory suggests? Did we come here from another planet? Were we on here already before? And then some beings came down to this planet and genetically mutated us, and then we became another type of species on a planet. So where do we come from? And those are the questions that led me to even wanting to discuss what we're going to be discussing today. But there are a couple things that we need to understand and establish before we continue. It's important to create a foundation for the information that's going to be shared. What we know, and I'm saying no because I believe there's enough evidence to prove that this isn't theory. We are not alone in the universe, right? And at one point, you would hear, that aliens probably have not, come to Earth before. That was something a couple decades ago, and thought by a lot of people. And now it's more like, oh, where the universe is so vast, in order for us to believe that we're the only ones in the universe, it's very arrogant. That's pretty much the consensus right now, whether you're a conscious disclosure person or whether you're a person who has no idea any of the information that we're sharing today. So we're not alone in the universe. And part of this establishing this foundation, I'm going to share later in the presentation when we go over declassified and documents on the fact that UFOs and ETs are real. And then humans are collectively experiencing amnesia. The reason I can say that is that if you've checked out any of the recent documentaries on reincarnation and the stories that people have, it's pretty much a no-brainer that individuals do come back, souls do come back. They do, whether it's called reincarnation or whether it's simultaneously living the same lives, because time doesn't exist in the form that we know it. So which one ever it is, the fact is that if we can prove that there are other lives that do exist and we've lived them and we can't remember them, what is that? That is amnesia. We're collectively experiencing an amnesia. There are ways to put that amnesia to the side, and I'll be speaking about that a little bit later, but I believe that is something that we can say that we know. the sources for today's presentation, there's more than this now that I've added much more information, but just to break it down, where the sources are for this presentation is the Prism of Lyra book is one place that I have a lot of Galactic Origins information from. The Sumerian Tablets of Creation, because that was really my first introduction to all of this information entirely. Other ancient scriptures from around the world, some channeled material, peer-reviewed science and articles, the Old Testament, one of the most interesting history books on the planet, because there's so many, and Dolores Cannon, Life Between Life and Past Life Regressions. So Barbara Lamb's info, Dolores Cannon's info, being hypnotherapists that have taken people into life between lives and also life on other planets. So hypnotherapy, the Akashic Records, those that claim to pull information from the Akashic Records, NASA and space agency images and discoveries, research studies and laboratory tested results, hypnosis, as I said a little earlier, whistleblower testimony, 3-letter agencies. I'm going to say this really quick, little disclaimer. If I'm talking about, I'm going to just point down here so you can see it. Boom, 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 boom. And even if these agencies have more than 3 letters, what I'm going to say from this point onwards for the whole presentation is 3-letter agency, just because I don't want to be, banned and all that stuff, because I've already been canceled on Facebook. My whole profile has been gone on my Instagram too for PortalToAscension. So again, when I say these individuals here or these groups, I'm going to just say 3-letter agency, and many other speakers and researchers. When we talk about Galactic Origins, I feel it's an important thing to note that there are 2 components when it comes to our origin stories. There's prehistory and there's Earth history stories. And there's basically prehistory is before Earth, like before time and space, when it was just time and space, or even before time and space even existed. And Earth history is Earth history. It's the history of our planet, whether it's the Garden of Eden on our planet, whether it's different ETs and beings living in different areas on our planet, or whether it's, a recent origin story of how the Aztecs came out of a cave in Central America and with different tribes and then inhabited to create the great Aztec Empire, all those stories. So there's 2 distinct type of stories we see in origin stories of humanity. We see prehistory, we see Earth history. Sometimes we have a combination of both. And sometimes we have pre-deluge, which is pre-flood story, and post-deluge stories as well. And then there's Earth history examples would be something like the Sumerian scriptures, the Greeks, they have the stories of the gods on Earth and what they did, but it can also be there is a fine line there, because they could be talking about celestial occurrences that even occurred before these beings came to Earth. And then we have Egypt's origin stories and so much more that really have an earthly component to it. A good example of prehistory would be something like this. Well, when it comes to science, it would be like this. Cosmological models maintain that 13.8 billion years ago, the entire mass of the universe was compressed into a gravitational singularity, the so-called cosmic egg, from which it expands to its current state following the Big Bang. So, of course, conventional science believes there was the Big Bang, right? And in the Big Bang, after that, there was an infinite mass, and it was right there in a singularity, right in the center. And there was some sort of explosion that pushed everything out. And that is the scientific conventional model. It's if you can tell right here, it says cosmic egg. And if you look at my creation stories presentation, you'll notice that the cosmic egg is actually a metaphysical word. Is actually used throughout origin stories a lot. So the fact that conventional science models actually use the same word is very interesting. And then the metaphysical terminology is the cosmic egg represents potentiality. And this is my own definition of it. The cosmic egg represents potentiality. It is the pre-creation held within the chaos, waiting to become the chaos. This duality then sets up conflict found throughout the world mythology, the duality of chaos and order, good and evil, light and dark, love and hate. So again, the cosmic egg, let's look at it and compare the 2. We have the science model of the infinite singularity mass, which is a cosmic egg. Now in metaphysics, we're talking about the same thing, the cosmic egg. What does it represent? Unlimited potential. What else is it? the metaphorical terminology for infinite singularity with all matter and all existence and all creation in it is infinite potential. It is what became, it was the order that became chaos. It was the division, the duality that sprung from it all. So our galactic origin stories are actually a combination of both of those, prehistory and Earth history. Because what is galactic origins? Galactic origins are whatever took place to lead towards the birth, the incarnation of humans on this planet, and led us up to this day that we're at right now. So our galactic origins might be a story of how we might have sprouted and started, you know, and even started isn't even the proper word because that implies time, but how we started within the cosmos and then continues up until how we got here today. Humanity's journey from inception to this current linear experience. It introduces the concept of a paradox, of there being an origin when time is only a construct of our position in space relative to the sun. So the paradox in that statement that I made right there is that it implies that there is an origin, that there is a beginning, right? But we know that time is only a construct of Earth's position from our sun. Time exists in all types of ways, fluidity in all types of ways, but the linear time we have is that position. So it implies there is a paradox there. So what is the universal paradox? As I really evolved with this information over the last 20 years or so, pretty early, in this awareness, I realized that there was a paradox. And the first component of how I realized that was the fact that there is an infinite universe, right? We call the universe infinite. And we also know the universe is constantly expanding now. It used to be thinking that it would expand and contract, right? If it expands and contract, doesn't that imply it's finite? If it's infinitely expanding, doesn't it imply that it's not fully expanded yet? And if it's not fully expanded yet and is infinitely expanding forever, how does that work? Because the only thing that can continue to expand is something that's finite. So if you have something that's finite, it can continue to get bigger. But how can something that's infinite continually become infinite? A paradox. So to me, that implies the illusion. It's all holographic in my mind. The fact that either one, it's a holographic creation, and that could be a huge component to it, or our brains are not fully able to process the frequency of understanding what a paradox is. The only thing we can do is accept a paradox, but we can't understand it because paradoxes should not exist. A great example of a paradox, quantum physics, Newtonian physics. Quantum physics, guys, is a paradox to Newtonian physics. The laws of quantum physics do not match Newtonian physics. The quantum physics says Newtonian physics should not exist. Newtonian physics says quantum reality, quantum world should not exist. They both contradict each other. However, Newtonian physics, everything above an atom, everything that is an atom and above, everything that is an atom and above, Newtonian physics is a paradox and contradicts the science of everything that is subatomic. So there's a paradox there. So another one is time exists, but it also does not exist, right? Like, as I said earlier, we have this construct between us and the sun. So if you want to look at just time like that, as soon as you step outside of our atmosphere, now you're experiencing time completely differently. And then most of the people here would even have the component of time is just a construct of this linear dimension, that when you go into different dimensions, higher dimensions or parallel realities, time could be experienced differently or may not even exist at all. So that too is a paradox. And then we are solid beings, yet we're also vibrating frequency that have no form or shape. Paradox. How on earth, pun intended, can we be solid beings and also have no shape and be complete frequencies made out of the same exact frequency as everything around me, including this desk? It's just static frequency. So that's a paradox. So understanding and accepting that there's a universal paradox led me down this pathway of realizing how that connects into the galactic origins. But before we begin our story of our galactic origins, let's break down what dimensions are and the mechanics of our galaxy. And you can see down here in this image at the bottom, just a few concepts of what dimensions are. One dimension, we have the line. Two dimensions, we have length and height. And then three dimensions, we have height, length, and width. And we're going to get more into that in a moment. So what are dimensions? Physics and mathematicians say a dimension of space is defined as the minimum number of coordinates needed to specify any point within it. Therefore, a line has a dimension of 1 because only one coordinate is needed to specify a point on it. Okay? And in spirituality and consciousness, what is a dimension? A realm, and again, this is my definition that I created, a realm and or a frequency of experience that can be obtained through various forms of conscious awareness, soul contracts, karmic agreements, and more. I had to throw more in there because I don't really know, right, how we can obtain all these dimensional experiences. But a realm or frequency of experience is what I like better. I like to say that more than higher dimension. Because when we say the word higher dimension, we're implying that it's better than, it's higher than, there's a hierarchy. Some people may not have that connotation when they say it, but a lot of people may. They'd be like, oh, I can't, that person's so higher dimensional, right? We're going into a higher dimension, it's going to be better for humanity. That implies that what we're having now, this experience now, is not good for humanity. But I really feel that all the experiences that we have within our dimensions, whatever dimension we're in, are all good because they're all clocking in experiences. We wouldn't have been allowed to come on this planet to have the experience of duality if it was so bad that it wasn't supposed to happen at all, right? So the experiences that we're having, the dualistic experiences, are various forms of experience that can be obtained through conscious awareness. And we have, as I'll show later, we have the ability within our own bodies to obtain those levels of awareness. What are dimensions? The world as we know it has 3 dimensions. You've heard 3D quite a lot. 3 dimensions of space, length, width, and depth, and 1 dimension of time, the 4th dimension. Physicists and mathematicians and spiritualists all believe the possibility that many more dimensions exist. According to string theory, the physical universe operates within 10 dimensions. So I have my own belief on that. I think it's actually 12 dimensions of physicality within the incarnational cycle of this galaxy. But they're even figuring it out now, right? Mainstream science is saying what metaphysicists have been saying for 1,000+ years. And there are also different types of dimensions. Dimension is such a broad word that when somebody says to me, what is a dimension? Unless I have an opportunity to show them 20 minutes of slides, I really can't just explain it in one component, because what dimension are you talking about? What kind of dimension are you talking about? It's used for many overlapping and seemingly independent concepts. For example, we have parallel dimensions. We have physical dimensions of this reality, of this timeline. We have spiritual dimensions. We have dimensions in the galaxy. We have realms of no dimensions at all. We have the void. We have a dimension within a dimension. These are different components that have been thrown out there as possibilities of existing. So just to say the word dimension isn't really explanatory, when most of what I'm going to be talking about today, except for the part when we get into time travel, which is going to be interesting, but what most of them I'm expressing today are dimensions are probably really the 12 dimensions, including the 13th, which is the void, of different experiences that we can incarnate into and tap into within our own galaxy. So it is important to realize that these concepts and titles may have been spiritually informed, but are also human constructs based on perception and unique experience on Earth. If we did not exist on Earth, if Earth didn't exist at all and humans didn't exist, dimensions, parallel realities, physical, spiritual, the void, the black hole in the center of a galaxy, all of those things will still be there, right? Well, I guess it depends on who you ask. It's all about if the tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear it, right? But all of those things would really still be there, because if we weren't here right now, Earth just vanished, it would still be there. So when we're calling fourth, third, second, first dimension, astral reality, parallel dimension, every one of those terms are all human constructs, human words designed to explain universal concepts that would exist whether we have the words to explain them or not. So it's important to do that, because otherwise you can label and identify it with things too much by saying like fifth dimension or something like that. Whereas that's just a human construct as well. And it's great because we give the labels to the things that we want to, but knowing that we've also imposed these constructs on it and made it into a hierarchy and all this stuff is a good thing to know moving forward. So we're going to get into the Milky Way galaxy in just a moment here, but just a little detour before we do that. And this, I actually just added this about, let me see how long ago, like an hour and a half ago, I added this part to this presentation because I really wanted to explore the concept of time travel a little bit. Time travel. Well, we have now found out that as we go closer to the speed of light, time begins to warp and it seems to slow down for that individual object. If I was standing somewhere in the middle of some stadium and you were going around me at light speed travel and you went around me for years, what seemed like years for me, chances are you would stop traveling and you would be the same age or just a tiny bit older than the moment you started. But I'll be, say that you've been driving around me for 10 years, I'll be 10 years older, right? So when you go closer and closer to the speed of light, time begins to slow down. And the belief is when you get to the speed of light, time stops. So if you're able to travel at the speed of light, it may take you years, but you would not age. That is one of the theories. Theoretically, at the speed of light, time stops because you're traveling at the same speed as the light. So if time is just a reflection of the light that comes to my eyes and the distance that it traveled, if I'm traveling at the same speed as the light, I'm traveling at the same speed that the time is basically going forward. So the theory is that we would not age. And then also time travel, there are theories that bending space-time, if we're able to bend space and time somehow, create some sort of device, we can actually jump ahead in distance within our universe and actually go forward and back in time. And also wormholes, traveling through wormholes, FTL travel, which is faster than light travel, and then going through parallel dimensions in order to go time. These are some of the theories of ways that we can have time travel. And there's some other components of what is believed to maybe happen if we were to time travel. So let's be theoretical right now. Let's just say that we were able to time travel, and what would happen? So here are a few different scenarios that I outlined that are theories of what could actually occur during a time travel moment. So you can go back in time to this timeline right here, right now, right? So you're in this timeline right here, and I go back to the same timeline that I'm in, and I make a change that changes this moment that I'm in right now. So go back in time, and then all of a sudden, when I go back to this time right here, the moment has been changed and everything shifts. This is very similar. Actually, this is the one from Back to the Future, basically. This is like, okay, I go back in time, made a mistake. Biff got the magazine with all the sports numbers in it for the next decade or whatever, becomes rich. I go back into my future. He's married my mom, right? That was Back to the Future. And he's rich and he hates me. So that is the one from Back to the Future right there. And then another one is when you can go back in time, you can actually jump into another parallel timeline and it does not affect the past of your current time. So if you went back in time right now from this moment here, instead of going back to the same timeline, it's not possible. All parallel realities, all parallel dimensions exist simultaneously. So the moment that you're traveling back to is actually existing right now. So you move back to a different timeline that then has a whole different outcome, but you don't actually affect the timeline you came from. The timeline you came from is missing you because you've gone now. When you go back in time, you go to here's number 3. When you go back in time, you go to the same timeline, but when you make a change, it breaks off into a new timeline. And then there are now 2 distinct timelines from the original timeline. So you can go back in time right now and you do not do anything different. You just like hang out, you watch, and then you come back and everything's fine. But you go back in time and then you maybe stop something from happening. Then when you come back in time, you don't go back to your same timeline. You go back to a parallel timeline that you've just created. That's theory number 3. And then if we were to go faster than light, theoretically, we're able to go back in time. So if we go as fast as the speed of light, now we are at the same speed of time. But if we go faster than the speed of light, technically time should start reversing. And that's what happens when we have black holes and wormholes, where time bends, light bends. A great example of time travel is the fact that the sunlight from our sun takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds to arrive at our eyes, which means that we're seeing the sun how it was about 8 minutes ago. So time travel is happening all the time. if they're, as a kid growing up, I would hear in my science class on occasion that if the sun supernovaed, right, it would take us 8 minutes and 20 seconds before we even felt the effects or even see the supernova in the sky. So there's some sort of time dilation going on there. So time travel is happening all the time. There's some scientists now. The reason why I'm getting into time travel is because there's actually some new information on time travel that I'm about to share with you. The universe, time travel paradox. The universe will cease to exist if you see yourself. That's another theory of time travel. So you've probably seen time travel movies before in which the individual goes back in time and they're like, oh, do not see yourself. Do not interact with your younger self. It will create a paradox and the universe as we know it will cease to exist. First of all, that was just done completely for dramatic effects. So it's not like those studios were looking into the science. So, but however, a lot of people have this belief now, and it's actually shared within scientific community, something called the grandfather complex. Do not see yourself do not go back in time and see yourself, timelines will collapse and all the universe will collapse. So new studies are showing that this is probably not true. And let's fade to this article here. Okay, I'm going to share an article with you now. And I see there's questions coming in. So if anybody has questions, ask them in the Q&A area. You can locate that right at the bottom of the Zoom room. Go ahead and ask your questions in the Q&A area, and I'll take a pause somewhere in between and at the end, and we'll go ahead and go through them. But here is some research that came out back in September of 2020. So only like 5 months ago. And I'm going to read a little bit from this. Okay, say you traveled in time and attempted to stop the current world situation from being exposed to this thing. However, if you stop that individual from becoming infected, that would eliminate the motivation for you to go back and stop the pandemic in the first place. So that includes a paradox right there. It's an inconsistency. So if you go back and stop something, the whole purpose of you even going there in the first place no longer exists, and everything could collapse as we know it. Or we have the grandfather paradox, in which a time traveler kills their own grandfather in the process of preventing the time traveler's birth in the first place. So the logical paradox has given researchers a headache, in part because according to Einstein's theory of general relativity, closed timeline curves are possible. But these researchers say that a paradox wouldn't necessarily exist because events would adjust themselves. So I'm just going to show you these two articles and comment on here right now. So what they're doing through their research, including research with the Hydrogen Collider in Geneva, is that they're realizing, or they believe, that when you actually go back in time, all the things that occur, any issues or any situations that you shift and change, will actually automatically correct themselves to have the same outcome. Say you go back in time and then you stop Kennedy from being assassinated. What happens in the universe is that the universe does not want to create a paradox in that moment. So all these other elements will shift in order to bring the same outcome to the timeline that you're at. So this is now what researchers are saying in regards to their research for time travel, which I found was pretty interesting. Take a moment here and look at the chat. Yeah, time is a linear phenomena, but then if we go into different dimensions where there's another element of time could still exist, but maybe it's a little more fluid, or maybe there are 3 points of time rather than just having 2 components. All right, everybody. I want to officially welcome you to your home galaxy, the Milky Way. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, is speeding through space and Earth, traveling through space at 1.3 million miles per hour. We are going 25 miles per second closer to the center of the Milky Way galaxy. And as some of you may know, in the center of our galaxy is a supermassive black hole. We're also traveling alongside our local cluster of stars, 375 miles a second toward what is known as the Virgo cluster, an enormous collection of galaxies 45 million light years away. And in our galaxy, we see all these beautiful patterns that seem to be common, not just on Earth and even to the finite of the or the infinitesimal pieces of our mitosis and our cells and how our cells divide, but we see the same geometry throughout the cosmos. So there's some sort of design going on here, some sort of laws that it seems that creation is actually following. And you can see here, we have the Milky Way galaxy that is following the Fibonacci spiral, but then there are other types of galaxies. The spiral galaxy is one of the most common forms of galaxies that there are, but there are other galaxies that seem to go by different ways, different geometrical shapes, or even maybe have different elements of physics that are playing out there. And this meme here on the left that many have probably seen is one that really shows the as above, so below. We have, of course, the sacred geometry starting at the circle to the Vesica Pisces, to the seed of life, to the flower of life. Then we have the cosmos and how the cosmos are created and nebula and galaxies are created. And then we have mitosis. You can see that they're all very similar. So what is actually occurring on the grand scale, on the macro scale in the universe through the creation of galaxies and nebulae and whatever is the same thing that is happening on the micro level within our own bodies and how all physical matter is being created. But the part that I'm really excited about is the fact that this sacred geometry has been utilized by ancient civilizations for years. And we're now realizing the sacred geometry is a representation of the division of our cells and also the creation of universe and galaxy, right? So these individuals that were using this artwork maybe had some sort of connection or understanding of these components already and created beautiful art in order to express it. This right here is a snapshot, an intersection of the Milky Way galaxy. So this line that we see right here in the center is actually the photon belt, which is the high concentration of ether within our galaxy, right? So the milk of the Milky Way galaxy is this right here. Humans, and the trajectory of our planet is right here. You see the line that's going all the way down up above. So not only are we going and rotating, and let me show you with my hands here. Not only are we rotating around our Milky Way galaxy, but we're also going around in spirals around that. So that we have multiple rotations going on, right? So we're going, here's the Milky Way, this core and center. We're going all the way around. And then we're also going like this around the Milky Way. So what we're showing here, and just FYI everybody, we got 111 people in the room. Lucky numbers, 111. Just had to say that really quick. And then, so what we're showing here is the milk of the Milky Way galaxy and then the trajectory of planet Earth, right? And then we have years over here. So around 10,000 BC, we're in the night sky. When you look into the sky, you see the constellation of Leo, right? And that's over here, 10,000 BC. And then every 2,000 years or so, the constellations in the night sky change, right? And then we got to what? We get to the birth of Christ, 4 BC. You know, and then 2,000 years later, in the year of, and we're in the age of Pisces, we get to the age of Aquarius, which is right about this time. And what this shows is the trajectory of the planet Earth through the galactic center. So we have been at the bottom of it for around 13,000 something years, and now we're going to the top side of it, which is the different polarity. So the belief is that this is also how we're ascending. Well, we've been in this duality in this Kali Yuga, which is down here, known as the Dark Ages in ancient Sanskrit scriptures. And now we're going up into this polarized positive ascension. And then we go down again and we start all over. This is a image of our Milky Way galaxy. And in a moment, I'm going to show you that the positioning of our planet in our galaxy isn't what we thought it was and have been told for quite a while now. And as you can see right here, this 30,000 years from the edge of our 30,000 light years from the edge of our Milky Way galaxy all the way to the galactic core. So 30,000 on each side. The galactic core has a specific amount of length as well, but there's around 60,000 light years on if you include both sides, just to go to the center of our galaxy. And if you can read this in the bottom right here, I'm going to read this part. The solar system wobbles up and down 200 light years either side of the galaxy's disk. Okay, this is mainstream conventional science here. I think this is from science.org. When it wobbles above, Earth may be exposed to more cosmic waves from the galaxy's bow shock. So conventional scientists have realized that the galaxy emits some sort of bow shock, and the bow shock actually goes what is on the top of the galactic center. It spews this energy, this radiation, or whatever it is, to the top. So when we're in this element right here, the scientists are saying that there is some sort of frequency, some sort of bow shock of cosmic rays that are actually bombarding everything on top of it, which could actually go to the whole notion that that's an ascended world, that we're being hit with these cosmic rays, and through these rays we're able to live a more empowered life. A lot of hidden truths are being disclosed. So that could be connected to it right there. But it's interesting that they're saying that there are cosmic waves and they are going above. And it also says we go up and down 200 light years on either side of the galaxy's disk. Here's the galaxy's disk, 200 light years down, 200 light years up. And that is our trajectory through the galaxy. Now, here is the Milky Way galaxy. And if you notice, the position of Earth seems to be almost in the middle of the Milky Way galaxy. Whereas I grew up being told that we're on the last arms of the Milky Way galaxy, right at the end of the galaxy. And now, because of new scientific evidence and satellites, they're realizing that we actually aren't all the way at the end. We're closer to the end than we are to the center, but we're almost at the center of the distance between the end of our galaxy and the galactic center, supermassive black hole in the middle of our galaxy. And here is another one right here. And another image of our positioning. So how much you can see depends on where the sun is in relation to the Milky Way core. So as the Earth goes around the sun, seeing the larger part of the Milky Way occurs around February to November. The more we see, what we see in our cosmos is directly connected to our positioning in relation to the galactic core. But what is the galactic core? Well, the galactic core seems to be a supermassive black hole that has the mass of 4 million suns. And next to the black hole in the center of our galaxy is a constellation called Sagittarius A. It is located at the center of the Milky Way galaxy, and it lies in the direction of the Sagittarius constellation near the border with Scorpius. It is the location of the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. So we believe that Sagittarius A is the entrance to the area where the supermassive black hole is. The black hole lies at a distance of 26,000 light years from Earth. So the whole trajectory right here of us going up and down, approximately 25 to 26,000 years. The zodiac, also 25 to 26,000 years. The distance from Earth to the center of our galaxy, around the same amount of time. If not the same time. These are all estimated numbers they're giving, but all the estimated numbers say around 26,000. So it looks like that 26,000 year cycle is we're connected on many levels. And it could be 13,000 years of this ascended reality, and then 13,000 years of a more dualistic experience. And that keeps going on and on. But then if you look at the Hindu scriptures, there are actually cycles within cycles. There's the dark age of the golden age. There's a silver age and a bronze age of the golden age, right? Where we still have gone through many challenges, but we still have some sort of dualistic experiences that come up. So to say that we go through 13,000 years of enlightenment and then 13,000 years of darkness in the conventional sense that we've been experiencing on Earth may not exactly be true. Now we're finding out Earth is actually much closer to the supermassive black hole than we thought. And here is an image of Sagittarius A, which is supposed to be close to the location of the black hole. The reason why I keep saying close to the location of the black hole is because of what? Well, black holes are black. They're dark. You can't even see light escaping from it. So it's very difficult to find a black hole. And when they first believed black holes existed, it was a theory. They believed that they could exist. They didn't even prove it yet. And then now they proved it. And then 3 or 4 years ago, they released the first image of a black hole sucking in light that's around it, right? Some people say it's a fake image, who knows? But that the supermassive black hole is located somewhere around there because of the whole component of the fact that we can't really see the black hole. We can only see the light around it. And if you looked at the galactic center, you would, if you weren't like informed at all growing up, I guess you would probably believe like, why is there so much light there if it's a black hole? Well, the whole thing is that there are the suns and the light and the planets around the black hole are so super dense and compacted together that when we look in that direction, all we see is light. What we're doing in this moment is still creating a great foundation for realizing the way our galaxy, where our Milky Way galaxy works, but also the universe. And part of that is knowing what is happening in a galaxy that we probably don't know. This is something that many of you may not have come across before, that there's actually a galaxy that we are currently integrating into our own galaxy as we speak. And it's been happening for quite some time. When I grew up, I was told that we're heading on a collision course for the Andromeda Galaxy. In a few billion years from now, we're going to collide. The galaxies might unite. They might dissipate. I don't know if any of you have heard that as well, but that's what I was taught. Now, I mean, whether that's still true or not, I haven't done my research to see, like, are they still saying that same thing? But that brings me to this. Well, it's actually happening right now. There's actually a dwarf galaxy that's called the Sagittarius Galaxy, not to be confused with Sagittarius A, which is what I just showed you, which is a constellation within the Milky Way. But there is a galaxy called the Sagittarius Galaxy, represented by this pinkish, orangish, reddish kind of blob right here. And these trajectories, these lines right there, are the matter being broken up by the gravity of our galaxy. And this is happening for around 8 billion years. It's been integrating into our galaxy. And the next slide I'm going to show is a GIF that is actually going to show you the last 8 billion years of what has happened to this galaxy and how it's integrated into Earth. So here we go. We're going to start at 8 billion years ago, 5.7 billion years ago, 3 billion years ago, 1.9 billion years ago, 1 billion years ago. Now, here we go again. So I'm going to show you that again. And watch, see that for quite a few billion years, this galaxy was rotating around us. And then it started to break apart and get integrated. And now we're in a whole different, it looks completely different aesthetically because it's actually pulling in matter from all over our galaxy, almost as an infinity spiral. So here we go again. 8 billion years ago. Okay, 5.7 starts breaking up. 3 billion years ago starts tail end. 1.9 billion years ago. And then boom, 1 billion years ago, now we have like an infinity spiral going on in a galaxy as that component adds. And what happens when a galaxy breaks up and starts rejoining our galaxy? The matter, the particles all start breaking up, and then they get formed into nebula. They get formed and part of other planets and other constellations and gets integrated. And sometimes there's evidence to suggest that planets, rogue planetary bodies, leave different galaxies from some sort of traumatic event, or maybe not even, and go to other galaxies. And this could be one of the ways that this happens. And here's another way that could happen. This is from NASA's own website. This is something that has occurred in our past within our galaxy. See if you can follow. I know the text right here is a little small, so I'll read it out. So number one here, we're going to look at this. There was a triple star system, right, that was close to the black hole in the center of our galaxy. Triple star system. So we're not talking about a binary star system. We're talking about 3 suns rotating. And then it moves closer to the center of the Milky Way galaxy. One of these stars falls towards the black hole in the center of a galaxy, gets pulled away. The binary pair, the other 2 pair, gets shot off into space, out of our galaxy. The binary system leaves the galaxy, number 3 right here, and then they form together, and they become what's known as a blue straggler. And then the blue straggler goes off into the depths of space to who knows where. So these are kind of things that are happening in a galaxy all the time, being interacted with all types of celestial bodies. Now back to the galactic core. The horizontal streak of bright stars across the center of the image is the plane of the Milky Way. As I said earlier, some call it the photon belt, some call it the milk of the Milky Way, some call it the ether. The galaxy center is the bright white spot in the middle of the photo, where hot massive stars are crowding together. It's believed to be a supermassive black hole. And my theory is that the closer to the black hole, the more rapid or shift there is in a frequency. Because the gravity of the black hole is so intense, and I'll show you in a minute how fast stars can rotate around this sun. Frequency is so intense that it's literally shifting your vibration and frequency. So it might be impossible for third-dimensional existence, for third-dimensional life to even live over there, because of the fact that the frequency is so much, the suns are so packed together, the heat level is probably extremely high. And then the question is the black hole in the center of our galaxy dormant, or is it actually sucking things in as we speak? This leads to the element of white holes. And, you know, I came across this information once, like briefly, about a white hole, and it just stuck in my head forever. And ever since then, I've been like routinely researching it and just trying to figure out, you know, what could this white hole be? Because even scientists, they haven't perceived a white hole. A white hole is actually a hypothetical region of space-time and singularity, which cannot be entered from the outside, although energy, matter, light, and information can escape from it. So what is a white hole? The 100% opposite of a black hole. In this universe, it's believed that if we have a black hole, there needs to be a white hole, right? So not sure if we have observed it yet, but in theory, it should exist. Possible white holes, though, so we could have observed it, but not known that there were white holes. So possible white holes are the other side of a black hole. Makes sense. Well, light goes through the black hole, comes out of the other side into another universe, another dimension, another parallel reality out of a white hole. Or is there a universe where there are only white holes, right? Like we have only black holes. Maybe there's a universe with only white holes and no black holes, and that's where all the energy goes. Maybe the sun is a white hole pulling energy out of a black hole. That's another understanding that we used to think. You're going to hear me quite a few times today saying used to think, because a lot of what we were taught, and you know, I'm 38, a lot of what I was taught from 90 to 2000 in regards to astronomy have been completely thrown out of what they have believed is true, and they haven't spent the time to reinform us. So by doing this research, you get reinformed of what we're now realizing the universe, you know, is. So could it be, instead of nuclear fusion, going back to what they said about suns, is there are two theories about a sun. How on Earth, or how in the cosmos really, is a sun creating all this infinite energy that lasts for so long, billions of years before it even dies out? Where is it getting its energy from? Oh, yes. It must be some sort of internal nuclear fusion, a theory, once again. So the other theory is that suns and stars could actually be white holes, meaning that the black hole is actually a sun somewhere else, and that our suns are actually the reverse side of a black hole, either in another dimension or within our own physical universe. And then another one is that a black hole could be the reversal phase of a supermassive black hole, because we have now seen that black holes become the opposite of the black hole and start spewing energy out within the center of galaxies at certain intervals within their existence. So could the supermassive black hole become a white hole spewing ether miles into space that eventually settles and coalesces at the ends of our galaxy, creating more material to begin creating more of the physical universe? And what I'm saying in that one is, could the supermassive black hole spew out matter that then comes down through the gravity of the Milky Way galaxy, coalesces and comes back all over the galaxy, and now becomes the building blocks to create more and more physical planets, stars, nebulae, whatever? The supermassive black hole that is at the center of our galaxy did let out a flare of radiation around 3.5 million years ago. So the answer to my last thing is, yeah, it looks like that could be the case, that a supermassive black hole could actually become a white hole. And part of that theory comes from this, that 3.5 million years ago, the black hole spewed out a bunch of matter and ether and particles from the center of it, something that only things should be able to enter, did the opposite. And it's thought to have been clearly visible from Earth. That's how intense it was. This discovery, it changes our view of our galaxy's central black hole entirely, which has appeared dormant through recorded human history. Stephen Hawking had actually proposed that while black holes get bigger by eating material, they can also slowly shrink because they're really losing radiation. Hawking radiation occurs because empty space or the vacuum is not really empty. And that's a whole other rabbit hole that I'm not going to go down, because I believe a lot of conventional scientists have a lot of truth, but they've also put a lot of agenda-oriented information in there. And specifically when it comes to Hawking, I have that belief. So could it be a white hole? When the polarity reverses and spews out matter, it's estimated to be about 10 million to 1 billion, which is a huge difference, black holes in our galaxy alone, in our galaxy. These could be rips in space-time. Where is the light that is going through this rip in space-time going? If it's not going to another dimension, but it's going to a dimension within dimensions, because technically it's a rip in space-time, and is it just going into an astral realm where there's just pure energy now from this? Or is a black hole in a way dematerializing, and what we thought was energy will always exist? Maybe that's not the case. Maybe energy can be dismantled when it comes to the light being sucked into from black holes. So the Keck team here, I'm going to show you the next slide, but the Keck team here, it was led by UCLA astronomer Andrea Ghez, has now identified a star that orbits the black hole in 11.5 years. The shortest orbital period of a star yet discovered. Just to show you how fast everything is moving around the center of our galaxy, the shortest orbit that we found is 11.5 years of a star rotating around that huge black hole. And to double down on the whole component of could a sun be a white hole? Well, if a black hole could also, or a wormhole could be used for travel for a spacecraft using certain force fields or energies to go through, could the sun, if it's a white hole, be a stargate that these craft can come out of? Some people believe that is the case. I think that's definitely a possibility as well. And images like this that were released on NASA's website, and this image right here that I'm showing you, I actually saw years ago on NASA's website when it came out, because this image got released and then it was on NASA's website. So I can verify and say to you, yes, this isn't a doctored image. This is exactly how it looked on NASA's website before they took it down. Some people believe that NASA, they just have no filter for their videos and images, and it goes up on their website and then they take a look at them later and bring them down. I don't think that's the case. I think they deliberately let things out there and then they take them down afterwards. That seems to be more evidence to suggest that. But if you can look at this image here, what does this look like? Well, you could say that there's a lot of things, and they have said that there's a lot of radiation coming from the sun, and this is something that's natural, even though they've never actually depicted or picked this up ever before, right? And it looks like that there's some sort of spherical craft ciphering and pulling energy from the sun. But this wasn't the only image. They found tens of these things on the same time. They all came on the website. This is the only one that I can find that's left on the internet that is everywhere now. And when they did, spectral analysis of this thing in order to see what it was made out of, it was a solid object. It didn't seem like it was gas or radiation or anything like that. We can actually figure those things out. And look at the size of Earth right here. I forget how many times bigger it is, because I know they did say it when this came out. They said how much bigger it is, but you can tell the difference. Let's say 15 to 20 Earths can fit in this thing. So what is it? Why is it so big, right? And if you know any information about the other disclosure or the other piece of information that NASA released around 5-6 years ago, when they were looking at a constellation somewhere else in our galaxy, and that the star in that galaxy kept flickering on and off, on and off, on and off. So they started looking at that planet, and this is all mainstream out there too. started looking at that sun, and they were like, wow, why is this thing going so fast around the sun? Why is the orbit so fast? And they started taking a look at it, and they're like, okay, well, it's flickering on and off. Normally that means that there's something orbiting it, but it's orbiting in a place we didn't know anything to be. And then they took a look and they did an analysis on it, and it was some metallic structure, a metal-like structure that was there in the cosmos. And that they said that it should be maybe some sort of, even conventional scientists said that it looks like it's some sort of alien craft. That was the whole headline about it all. And then of course it gets swept under the rug. But if you look at any information with that, it's one of the largest anomalies ever. And what conventional scientists said after they realized it was a metallic structure, that maybe it's some alien civilization taking power from the sun in order to fuel the civilization. Right. So these are some of the anomalies that are being found, but aren't just being found in places where it could be photoshopped, are being found in places where these individuals seem to not maybe want this information to even get out there in the first place. Okay, so what is ether? We've heard this, and I spoke about ether a few times today. Ether is the fifth element, just like the movie. If you've seen the movie at all, the girl in there that was the ET that became the girl incarnated was the fifth element, ether, personified and manifested into a human being. The element that all other elements come from. On the physical world, we know 4 elements, right? Earth, wind, fire, and water. So where's ether? Ether exists. We have milk in the Milky Way galaxy. Why aren't we talking about that? Well, ether is the building blocks for all the other elements. Without ether, nothing would exist. Ether is the particles, the dust, the radiation, the energy coming from the center of our galaxy and throughout all of cosmos. Some people even say that the dark matter that they believe that they haven't proved exists is also a theory. The dark matter that holds everything together is the ether as well. So could the ether be the unlimited potential that can actually create all these physical objects? It creates stars, it creates nebulae, it creates minerals, it creates everything. Ancient and medieval scientists, they actually believe that ether is the material that fills the region of the universe above the terrestrial sphere. And in physics, they say the ether is the substance or field thought to be necessary as a transmission medium for the propagation of electromagnetic or gravitational forces. So again, ancient and medieval scientists, they thought that ether filled the region above the terrestrial sphere. Great explanation. Energy, frequency, vibration, matter, particles, radiation, whatever it is combined together, unlimited potential that manifests and goes down into the terrestrial sphere to create everything. And then in physics, they're saying that it's probably a substance, it's probably a field, it's probably necessary to transmit the electromagnetic and gravitational forces that create the universe. So they're saying the same thing, just in mathematical terms. To me, my definition of it is ether is the 3D printing material for the physical universe that comes from the voice and place of no dimension. The void comes from the void, the place of no dimension. So it's basically just like a 3D printing machine. You get a 3D printing machine, you put in whatever material you need to put in that machine in order for it to create the cell phone case that you're going to 3D print, and then it starts creating it out of all of this like matter. So ether is the same thing, and then the universe, the physical universe, is the 3D printer that utilizes the ether as material to create all things that are physical within this universe. So could the ether that is sent to the ends of the galaxy after a supermassive black hole lets out all this energy and maybe becomes a white hole, and is it possible that the outskirts of the galaxy homes lower dimensional experiences due to the ability for 3D life to exist, and higher dimensional civilizations, beings, and realms are closer to the center? So let me explain that. If the matter goes to the ends of the galaxies and forms physical worlds, if when we get closer to the center of the galaxy, the frequency shifts, the speed increases, is it possible that that could be a connection of the way we incarnate in relation to having these physical linear experiences the further we are in the galaxy, to having these other dimensional experiences the closer we get to the center? Because technically we can't really live and survive in 3D reality if we were just to go, for example, on a planet in Sagittarius A. So Could the ether be the building blocks to create 3D reality? And then it gets pulled closer to the center of a galaxy. And then the center of a galaxy becomes a white hole, sends matter out to the ends of the galaxy again. And then we start this cycle all over again. That's a possibility, I believe. So back to dimensions here. Now we're going to get a little bit into the science of what dimensions are. It's important to note that the term, as I said this earlier, and I'm going to say it again, the term lowest is a human construct. When we speak of hierarchy within dimensions as one being better than the other. Also, higher frequency is not always a descriptive phrase when it comes to describing harmonious or more advanced dimensions. A great example is, we go, that guy's high vibe, or increase the vibration, raise the frequency. Well, the Schumann resonance, right? The frequency of Earth is a very low frequency. But there are frequencies that are higher than that are very disharmonic, that you might not really like. But the Schumann resonance is a lower frequency, but it's more harmonic for you and will give you a great experience of life. So that's a great example on why it's not always about higher vibration. It's not like, oh, you're vibrating at 1,000 now, so now your vibration is higher than the person before you that's lower than you. So I prefer to call them dimensions of experience because of what I just outlined there. The third dimension, again, has length, width, and height. And a dimension that adds solidity to two-dimensional experience is what the third dimension is. And then the fourth dimension is time. And we can look at this graph here at the bottom. We have 3 dimensions. We got height, length, and breadth, which is width. And then we got the fourth dimension, which is it being somewhere lodged in time-space, right here, which is time. The fourth dimension seems like it could be an extra dimension of time or experience that some have said within spiritual community and disclosure, hey, why do you keep talking about going to the fifth dimension? Why are we forgetting about the fourth dimension? Well, I think the reason we're not talking about the fourth dimension is because that maybe is not an actual dimension of actual physical experience, that we actually exist within the fourth dimension now. And the fourth dimension could also be something like the astral dimension, life between life dimensions, like a purgatory kind of place, or a place where apparitions and different spirits exist. So if we exist within 3 dimensions, and then we exist within the fourth dimension because we exist in time, technically the reason why we're not going to the fourth dimension is because we live within it now, and that we're actually shifting into a different frequency. And the 3 dimensions of time space is our linear reality, and the fourth dimension is this portal to this other reality. So physicists considered it space-time, the 4D, meaning a spatial dimension beyond the normal 3. So I just told you about what the spiritual community believes. Now I'm talking about what physicists believe. They believe the fourth dimension is a spatial dimension beyond the normal 3. New studies dedicated this dimension by studying black holes. So by the studying of black holes, that's how they believe and started realizing that there probably is a fourth dimension. And over here, RIT research has actually helped prove that Einstein's fourth dimension theory is actually probably true, and looking at it through the lens of the black holes. And scientists have confirmed the existence of the fourth dimension that Albert Einstein once predicted but could never prove. It is the biggest physics discovery in 50 years and will change the way we view our universe. And this guy goes, Einstein got it right. So this is back in 2016, right? So a lot of this information has been known even before that, for like 4 years, 5, 6, 10 years. So I feel we're going to be a lot of information, and a lot of technology has probably been created around this awareness already that hasn't been disclosed to the humans, to us, to the masses. So this image right here is now the geometry of the fourth dimension. Physicists, mathematicians, spiritualists, sacred geometry enthusiasts believe that there are different geometrical objects that actually represent dimensions. And the fourth dimension, since the fourth dimension exists within the third dimensional experience and is maybe a portal, astral reality, or time, technically it would actually exist within it. So the geometry of the fourth dimension should be within the 3D. So how would that look? So the terasect, this is how the terasect is created. We have 2 cubes. The fourth dimension, the terasect is a geometrical representation of fourth dimension in physics and mathematics. So you have two cubes here. We combine these two cubes together, right? And then if you look down below here, the two red cubes are outliers of things in space that are the fourth dimension, and then the other ones are all representative of the third dimension. To form a terasect, which is the fourth dimensional geometry, we take the cube and drag it at a distance in the fourth dimension. We cannot visualize exactly what this looked like, but it looks something like this: cube into cube. The terasect has a volume of L4. It is bounded by faces on 8 sides. The faces are cubes of volume. We know that there are 8 of them since its fourth dimensional axis must be capped on either end by faces. 2 cubical faces per axis. Once again, we cannot visualize all 4 of these capped dimensions. We can at best visualize three directions perpendicular to each other. We then somehow add in the fourth. So theoretical mathematics is theoretically for a reason, right? So this is what I'm showing you, what they're trying to figure out, and I'm showing you how this actually almost proves to me what we've been talking about for so long within this conscious movement. And now here's a better example of that. We have the two cubes. We have the two cubes merging, trying to merge together. And then finally, we have the merging of the cubes. And now we have the last cube here, which is representation of the fourth dimension. And now this next image is a GIF of how that would actually look. This is the terasect. A fine-tuned geometrical shape of how the 4D rotates and moves within 3D cube in order to give us this looping experience of linearity on this planet. So why are we talking about the fourth dimension? Well, to get to the fifth, of course. So the moving to the fifth dimension, what is that, right? It makes sense that the fourth dimension is skipped because of what I just outlined there, that, you know, could be time. We could actually be in it right now. If you read things like the Law of One and other people, you see that they say that we're in the third density, which is already the fourth dimension, moving to the fourth density, which is the fifth dimension. So it makes sense that the fourth dimension actually could be physically skipped because it's not a place to actually exist within, because we're here now, and we are moving towards the fifth. If the fourth is a place of transition or dimension between dimensions, so to speak. So if we are moving to the fifth dimension, we could be moving to two dimensions of time and 3 dimensions of space that equals 5 dimensions. The integration point is the third point of the triangle. And this, I say here, what the Lyrans are looking for to achieve, and we're going to get into that later. So read that again. If we're moving to the fifth dimension, we could be moving to multiple dimensions of time, that then just the 2 points that we currently have, and multiple dimensions of space, which is what a lot of people believe means that we're going into a more fluid aspect of time, where time isn't experienced as linearity anymore. And then there's channelers, and there's a lot of information out there that says that in the fifth dimension, there are actually 3 dimensions of time, 3 points of time, and it becomes a triangle. And the triangle is what is known as integration. And you have the duality at the bottom at the 2 points, and then you have the integration point at the top. And the whole realization of why we even exist and why Earth is around is because they want we are attempting to get to that triangle state. We're attempting to get to that point of integration, right? So if we're moving to 5D, we could be moving to the multiple dimensions of time. And for example, the Mayans, the Maya said in their prophecy about 2012, it was the end of ages. That was a prophecy, the end of ages. The whole component right there, that phrase right there, the end of ages, makes it that people started believing they meant the end of everything, the end of time, the end of existence, the end of the world. But what it could mean is the end of aging, or the end of ages as we know it, right? We already know the beginning of new age, but the fact that they use the word ages implies time and implies linear time. So could it be that they're actually referring to the end of time as we know it and the beginning of a more fluid understanding of what time is, a bigger picture of time when we become secular rather than linear? This is the key component to realize our relationship with otherworldly beings, since if they exist in this dimension or in a higher dimension, right, quote unquote higher dimension, they do not exist within linear time. Therefore, they are simultaneously existing with us because they exist in this reality that is just a dimension stacked upon us. that really doesn't have time as a construct in the way that we believe it to be on Earth. So now we're looking at the fifth dimensional physicist belief of the geometrical shape of the fifth dimension. And it's called a pentarect. Early research on 5D space actually occurred in 1921. So this whole 5D element that we've been talking about, sending to fifth dimension, that's been around for quite some time, even before really spiritualists had taken it and became such a huge thing within us, you know. But all the way back in 1921, there was research on it, like mainstream research going on what is the fifth dimension. And I think it's going to be very interesting for you guys to see what they figured it could actually be. So early research back in 1921 was attempted to develop a theory that unifies the four fundamental interactions in nature: strong and weak nuclear forces, gravity, and electromagnetism. So the early research on 5D space was, how can we unify the interactions in nature? Strong and weak nuclear forces, the polarity of that, gravity, and electromagnetism. That's very, very amazing, I feel, because what are they attempting to do there? They're saying that the 5D space is a reality in which all these opposing forces start working harmoniously together. The dimension would not be directly observable. Check. Klein suggested that the 5D would be rolled up into a tiny compact loop. Under his reasoning, he envisioned light as a disturbance caused by the rippling in the higher dimension just beyond human perception. While not detectable, it would indirectly imply a connection between seemingly unrelated forces. Okay, let's break that down a little more. Klein believed that light, as we see it, is actually a rippling effect of light in a higher dimension having this outcome in which we're seeing light as we know it, but this is actually a product of higher dimensions. And whether that's true or not is definitely along the same lines of what we're researching within this disclosure spiritual awareness that we're all involved in here. So while not detectable, it would indirectly imply a connection between seemingly unrelated forces. Because guess what? Everything is related and interconnected. But in this 3D/4D reality, we see everything as separate, things that aren't connected, don't have any interaction with each other within the cosmos, but ultimately they all do. And what we're realizing when we go into these other dimensions is that these forces start to work together to create harmony. So the 5D in physics, the Kaluza-Klein theory experienced a revival in the 70s, so around 50 years later, due to the emergence of superstring theory and supergravity. The concepts that reality is composed of vibrating strands of energy in 10 dimensions or more. M theory suggests a potentially observable extra dimension in addition to the 10 essential dimensions, which will allow for the existence of superstrings. So this is what basically it got a revival when we started realizing quantum physics and superstring theory came around and started talking about all these dimensions. Then individuals were going back to the 1921 words of Klein and saying, wait, they were talking about 5D there. What can we get from this information and utilize now in order to explore 5D some more? It is difficult to directly observe the fifth dimension, as Klein said, and through what I believe as well. Though the Large Hadron Collider, supposedly they're saying, provides an opportunity to record indirect evidence of its existence by doing things like seeing light rip from other realities and dimensions and seeing waves and particles acting similarly, in which they do not even, one particle basically acts like two. So they're basically seeing that there's some sort of dimensional disturbance, warping going on there while they're doing what they're doing in Geneva. Physicists theorize that collisions of subatomic particles in turn produce new particles as a result of the collision, including a graviton that escapes from the fourth dimension, leaking into the fifth dimensional bulk. Many people have said, wonder what they're doing at Geneva, wonder what they're figuring out. Someone even said, there was an article a while ago that I don't think is probably true, but Someone was saying that, oh, they figured out, they created a hole in a black hole in Geneva and we're all going to be doomed soon. Obviously, that didn't happen. So there's been a lot of conspiracies around what are they doing there? What are they learning? Well, here you go. Here's the information that they're saying that they're doing. They're trying to figure out if there are other dimensions as well. This is their own research. Physicists theorize that collisions of subatomic particles, which is what they're doing there, in turn produce new particles as a result of the collision. Particles that didn't even exist in this reality came from a collision of those, including what's known as a graviton that escapes from the fourth dimension. This seems to me like very preliminary science for interdimensional travel and leaking off into five-dimensional bulk. So a 4D being a doorway to 5D. They said it right here, guys. They believe that this particle is coming from a fourth dimension, and their own belief, without like going to these presentations that we go to, they're saying that a fourth dimension comes off from that collision and leaks off into a five-dimensional reality. Utilizing this when using a magnet to lift a pin off a table, the magnet is able to overcome the gravitational pull of the entire Earth with ease, utilizing this concept. Wait a second. The magnet is able to overcome the gravitational pull of the entire Earth with ease using technology and information that we're finding in Geneva that is actually getting a particle from the fourth dimension that seems to be ending up in the fifth dimension. My mind runs wild with that, but I'm really sticking to hardcore verifiable information here. So I'm not going to go into my deeply esoteric beliefs until in the end when we have conversations, because if we want to talk about that, we can. Okay, so galactic dimensions breakdown. Superstring theory, as I just said, says there are 11 dimensions, but could go up to 13. There is a possibility that as the density of the entire planet shifts in relation to the distance from the center of the galaxy, the dimension can also change. So could it be that the closer to the center of the core galactic center, our dimensions increase, and not only do we know that what we perceive in our Milky Way galaxy is in direct relation to our positioning with the galactic center, but could our positioning with the galactic center also influence the dimension that we're in? Theoretically, and maybe even physically, that should be true, because if its gravity is pulling us in and the gravity is so intense, the frequency will shift on the planet. And could there be 12 dimensions of universal experience and the 13th dimension being the void in the center of the black hole, maybe in the center of all black holes, maybe it's the same void when you go through every black hole in the center of the galaxy. So 12 dimensions of physical experience, meaning that you could actually be a quasi-physical being within the 12 dimensions, but live in the universe. You can be a 12th dimensional light body apparition, pure energy, but still exist within the physical universe of the physical galaxy. And then you go to the 13th dimension, and then you enter the void, because it is believed that there are, superstring theory says at least 11 dimensions of physical experience here, but then 12 dimensions is what many people believe as well. And then we have the number 13, which is always about the 12 within the one, the 12 within the one, 12 dimensions and the one void. And if you look at books such as The Bringers of the Dawn, the channeled Palladian information, it's said in there that we have 12 chakras that we can tap into on Earth, and each of those chakras represent a dimension of experience within our galaxy, and we're able to be 12th dimensional beings that live on this fourth dimensional, third dimensional planet. So there are multiple dimensions of space and time. That's pretty much proven now. In the higher dimensions, we exist as light beings, could be energy, stars, and then as we go into other dimensions, we can be quasi-physical, half light, half flesh, whatever that means. And then we can become what we are now, complete physicality within linearity. The number 13. I just said 12 within the one, which equals 13. Seen throughout ancient texts, usually 12 within the one, which equals 13. And we know that number 13 has been demonized. It's been taken out of hotels. It's been made to be an unlucky number. But what happens usually from those that are in the know but do not want us to know information because it might make them lose power and end up in our regaining our sovereignty, those kind of things are hijacked. So the number 13 was hijacked. it's a reminder of our connection to source. So we see it everywhere, but we also see it taken out from the world in order to disconnect us from that realization. For example, we had Jesus and the 12 apostles, 12 within the one. We have the 13, the sacred number of the Maya. We have 13 letters in the name of God. We're believed to even be banned since the number connects us to our divinity and aligns us with the galactic center. We usually find sacred texts speaking. I got to do a detour right here. Seed of God. You might have heard that in many ancient scriptures, especially the Maya. The seed of God is the galactic center. The central sun said all over ancient scriptures, isn't talking about the sun in our solar system. It's talking about the galactic center, the central sun, right? So all these ancient civilizations, when they were referring to God, a lot of times when we have sun god civilizations, they aren't even worshiping the sun. They're worshiping the central sun, the sun of all suns, the 8 million mass sun in the center. So it's believed that I just told you two other things that align us to the galactic core. So it could actually be that when we talk about this, we're actually aligning ourselves to the galactic core when we speak about the number 13 intentionally, and when we realize the connection of this number all throughout ancient history. So we usually find sacred texts speaking of the 12 within the one, potentially representing the 12 dimensions within the void, which all manifest from. And then, of course, the 12 chakra system. And then we have the 13 zodiacs. There used to be 13 zodiacs. One was the serpent. It was taken away. There used to be 13 months when we were on a lunar calendar. It was taken away. So the number 13 was made 12. Now we're getting into the void. When I say the galactic center, I'm talking about the black hole right there, the lights around it, or the bulging stars, the 8 million sun infinite mass. When we talk about the void, we're talking about inside of that, where there is no dimension, a place of no space, no time. Could it be that each galaxy may be involved in its own karmic cycle with its own laws of physics, and we kept getting recycled? Do we incarnate into this galaxy and then we get pulled closer and closer to the center of the galaxy? Our frequencies shift. We become all types of different beings. We go off and populate the other sides of the galaxy and the cosmos. And then one day our soul re-enters the void in the center. And then we have an opportunity to either come back and relive that cycle again, or we can go to different dimensions, different galaxies, different parallel realities. And I'm just saying this very lightly right now. They could really honestly be an hour-long discussion on why I maybe think that could be true. But it could be that a lot of ancient scriptures have talked about this too, and even new researchers and even channeled material, that a cluster of galaxies have certain connections together. And then within those galaxies, each galaxy has a localized cluster that they are directly involved in regards to the ascension and evolution. That, for example, the Earth, we're going alongside different Sirius and the planet of the Essassani, which Bashar channels. We're actually have the same exact triangle makeup and are moving as a triangle together towards the closer of the center. So do we have direct karmic connections to those that we're doing that with? And then it keeps going out and then eventually includes other galaxies. Are other beings from different galaxies able to come to our galaxy utilizing the black hole in the center, or do they have some sort of other travel device where they can leave their galaxy and then come to our galaxy? But are they even able to come here if they don't have some sort of direct karmic connection to us? Are we evolving alongside Andromeda galaxy? And that's why the Andromeda galaxy civilizations we've known about coming to Earth for quite some time, and there's been all these individuals speaking about it. So these are kind of some of the questions that I have here. The void in the center is a gateway to another dimension, universe, and or galaxy. What happens if you're able to go through that thing? Maybe it's a doorway for the planet if the civilization has already gone out to inhabit other worlds. So what if in the future, let's say a few thousand years from now, we're a spacefaring civilization and we go out to inhabit other planets, other solar systems. When our planet gets to the center, because eventually it's going to be pulled to the center and gets recycled, the planet also has its own consciousness. Is that the moment that the planet can decide to incarnate somewhere else? Is that the moment that all the beings that have a direct connection to Earth now have a decision to go out and experience something else? Or are we able to do that in every single life cycle? You know, is the karmic cycle something that we're connected to until we outlive and get certain evolution, or are we able to break free from it as we, transition into each life. So maybe once we complete the cycle, we have a choice to come back or move on. Intergalactic civilizations, like beings from Andromeda, closest biggest galaxy to us, may have some sort of karmic connection. Once a civilization reaches a level of consciousness, they are not limited by their planet, and they can travel to other galaxies to observe and communicate with the locals. Now, this gets into my first poetry piece for today, and I'm going to take a little break, just about 1 minute, get some water here. So let's all take a little break if you want. Go ahead and get some water, get some tea, but we're going to come back in about 60 seconds, and I'm going to pick it up from here. So see you guys in a few. I'm just going to check the chat as well before we get back on. Okay, so see you in a few. Get a snack, get some tea, or just chill. Be right back. I'm muted. Okay, here I am. So yes, it did not end yet, Karen. We're about to start again, and I'm just going to check the chat right here to see how y'all feeling. And if you like, go ahead and leave a comment here. Let me know how you feel. And just to let some people know that are in the Zoom room, you can change your settings to all panelists and attendees if you want to engage, interact with everyone. And as promised, we're going to take a detour just for a couple of minutes here. I'm going to show you the website. I'm going to perform a song for you. And then we're going to get back into this because I want to make this like a variety show, entertaining and fun, and as well as informative. So first, what I'll do is I am going to play a song. And you are one of the first people that are ever going to hear this song. And it's called... Let's see what one I want to do here. I'm going to let you guys choose, okay? Let's have some interaction. So I'm creating a hip hop album. I'm also creating a spoken word album. I'm creating a conscious hip hop album that has a lot to do with, ancient civilizations, extraterrestrials, and consciousness, all the things that I'm into. And here are a few of the tracks that are on the album. And I want you to choose what song I should perform right now. Okay, so we're going to do either a song about music and why I love music. It's called Makes Me Smile. We're going to do which one here? A song about time travel, right? Me time traveling and then coming back to Earth and living out my experience. Or a song about the Matrix. So let's see. Do you want music song, Matrix song, or time travel song? Let's see some comments in the chat if you guys would like to. All right. I got some time travel people in the house. Okay, I kind of figured it would be that too. All right, I'm gonna play this beat. Okay, so this is 100% raw, everybody. I'm just like playing this beat. This beat I found on the internet, and I'm gonna just perform the song here. We did check the audio earlier, so the audio came out pretty well. Okay, time travel it is, and then I might have time to do the rest of it as well. Okay, I'm gonna try to do all three of them because we got people that want everything here, and I have 1 more hour left, so let's get into this. I'd be lying if I didn't say I'm a little nervous because I am trying to put this, like, I've put so much energy into creating this music, and I really looking forward to. It's been years, really. I've been trying to get this out and start creating music, but I've been doing PortalToAscension full time, and I really haven't had time to concentrate on actually creating songs. So now I'm doing it. And this one is called Time Travel. Let's go. Oh, let's do it like this. Time travel with vision. The mission was given. Shatter the prison. Unlock the chains. Remember the days that came before this eon, this age, when the starships transported our ancestors to this earthly place. When we light the sage, pay homage to the ways in which we came. So when we light the sage, pay homage to the ways. To time and slow down, or is our perception of how we exist in a matrix of different vows? Humans searching for the next cash cow. I'm the sacred cow, worship at the top of the mount, spinning around. Milk and honey to those that hear the sound. As your chakra points awaken, your soul is found. Sun gaze to receive praise from this maze we find ourselves in. To the cellular membrane, ancestry passed down to your kin. DNA strands unwind and bend and dissipate upon death. I will forever rhyme until I take my last breath. Time travel with vision, the mission was given. Shatter the prison, unlock the chains. Remember the days that came before this eon, this age, when the starships transported our ancestors' earthly place. When we light the sage, pay homage to the ways in which we came. Time travel with vision, the mission was given. Shatter the prison, unlock the chains. Remember the days that came before this eon, this age, when the starships transported our ancestors' earthly place. When we light the sage, pay homage to the ways in which we came. One time each day was a struggle, trying to juggle my higher and lower self without assistance, no help. A lost soul, just a kid in this world. You knew you didn't belong. I came from another planet, another home, but home is all I ever wanted. Looking for the friends I love. I confronted fears that were ingrained in my soul from a childhood when I didn't know how to say no. My trust in those were violated. It took decades before I owned, man. It wasn't my fault. No, it wasn't my fault. I didn't know better, had no direction, felt disconnected. I could melt and vanish. No one to miss this misfit. I wish this life started different until I shifted the imprisoned my own brain. I was a slave to the belief system, the imprint. So when I searched for the root of all religion, to see why we dismiss kids by the gods above, on a search for the pure, unconditional love. Travel the depths of space with the books and videos that made me realize humanity's soul was so deep. Began researching Earth's true ancient history and spirituality minus the organized piety. They got all these MCs on the knees. I no longer beg God, please help me, for I've always been free, moving to a higher density, providing the world with non-stop free energy. Time travel with vision, the mission was given. Shatter the prison, unlock the chains. Remember the days that came before this eon, this age, when the starships transported ancestors to earthly place. When we light the sage, pay homage to the ways in which we came. Time travel with vision, the mission was given. Shatter the prison, unlock the chains. Remember the days that came before this eon, this age, when the starships transported ancestors to earthly place. When we light the sage, pay homage to the ways in which we came. In which we came. In which we came. In which we came. Whew. Thank you guys. All right, now let's get back into this presentation. Thank you, everybody. So that's going to be on my album coming out soon. Some of the tracks on my album is going to be Makes Me Smile, about music, Near-Death Experience, which is about a near-death experience, and Conversation with God, The Matrix, a song called The Prism of Lyra, which is about Galactic Origins, then one called The Story of the Anunnaki, which is a ballad to the Anunnaki, one's called The Global Delusion, which really needs no explanation, The Sixth Sun, Time Travel, and Turn the Page. So, I'll be releasing that, so you got an email in the future about that. All right, back into why we're all here. And it's perfect because to transition back into what we're discussing today is I'm going to do my poem on fragmentation. So we've been speaking about the void, right? And this poem right here is my poetic representation of void and reincarnation. And the MC resonance right there is incorrect. It's at I_am_resonance on Instagram. So you guys can go ahead and follow me there for PortalToAscension info, and then also poetry, spoken word, and conscious rap. Here we go. The void. In the beginning, there were no words, no concept, no winning, no place, no time, no description, no label, and no finishing, until awareness became conscious of itself. Separation from the source, no east, no west, no south or north. Not to mention there never existed a dimension or ascension or physical lessons, except for the 0 point. There was no Christ to anoint. Singularity, energy, frequency raised vibrationally, paradoxically into limitation of what only the 5 senses can see. No linearity, no anarchy, no galaxies, no nebulae, no jobs, no nature, no materialism, and no political lies, until darkness finally fragmented from the light, using free will to see through the night. The darkness. I take the anxiety pill full of fright. In my bed, insecure from the conspiracy that might take over my mind, control me with a chip inside, scared and full of fear. That is the reason why we're here. To the star system of Arcturus, I stare and recite my cosmic prayers. Self-empower the fabric of victim consciousness, I tear. The light. You see, everybody? The destination has already been chosen. It's the journey that counts. Every day we transcend, no doubt, living in the now, realizing it's all a projection of a co-creation of our own subconscious mind. Channel energy through the heart, remembrance of the divine. Take apart my ego and restart my life in any moment. I'm going home, traveling across the black intergalactic ocean. I took the psychedelic potion, now I'm awoken. To the streets we take the spoken word. Fly high, levitate the God inside. I'm free like a bird. Cosmic oneness integrating in my being. A full spectrum being in alignment with the purity confined in ranges of frequencies inhibit what we are seeing. I shift what I choose to believe in, fuel my light body for the ether I am feeding. So that's kind of like there's 3 components here. The void, right? The center of the galaxy. The darkness, which is coming and incarnating on Earth, and the fear and the anxiety that we have on this planet. And then the light, which is where we're ending up. So it's just like this infinite loop, you know? So my theory really is that each galaxy is running its own program, karmic cycle, experiences, laws of physics, but they are connected. And when I say laws of physics, I don't mean like the equal and opposite reaction component no longer exists in that galaxy. Maybe it does. I mean, scientists haven't gone there. I haven't gone there, but I did have someone say to me the other day, like, they don't, laws of physics into other galaxies, BS. But I'm not saying that those components, but I'm saying the way the structure is could break down, because we do know different geometrical shapes actually form the equations for the formation of other galaxies that aren't like us. So there's something different there. So could it be that their own programs and cycles, but we have connection with them as well? So we're intricately connected to galaxies closer to us because we see that we're moving alongside them in space, and some of them are coming towards us. Does that have anything to do with how we're karmically connected to them? However, our immediate stage of experience is our galaxy, which is a localized galaxy. And it looks like there's cycles within cycles that are going on here, right? Not only are we rotating around the black hole in the center of our galaxy, but it seems like all the galaxies in the universe are rotating around a central point in the universe. That in itself doesn't make sense in a paradoxical universe, a central point in an infinite universe. How does that work? So again, here we are kind of somewhere in between the end of our galaxy and the center right there. Now, here's the question of the hour. Where is ET? How does this all connect to the Galactic Origins? We're going to get into the Galactic Origins now. Why can't we see ET? Why did they not just land on the White House lawn? That's something that has been said many, many times. It's almost like kind of funny now, like I almost expect it from someone who maybe doesn't, when you communicate about this, it would be like, well, why didn't they just show up to governments? Why didn't they just come on the White House lawn? Why aren't they here to help us? You know, look at the world situation now. What's going on? There's nefarious plans, there's agendas. Why aren't they coming here? Why can't they save us from this ourselves, right? If they exist, if they're there, if they have some sort of ancestry to us, if they love us, why? Well, if they're everywhere, why can't we see them? These are the questions. Well, the answer to that is it's a frequency game. The answer to that really is, let's go again. Somebody knocked on the door. I got thrown off for a second. Let me just make sure that no one's here. The reason why we can't see them is because it's a frequency game. And in order to drill that point down a little bit more, is that we now know that we can quantify that realities and frequencies exist that we can't perceive, right? That we can only see a certain light on the light spectrum. We can only hear a certain amount of frequencies and audio. We can't hear everything. And a great example of that is a dog whistle. Humans cannot hear a dog whistle, but a dog can hear a dog whistle. So what is going on there? There is a frequency that is being emitted that the dog is able to pick up on that humans can't. So we can prove that realms of frequency and vibration exist. We know that all things that are in physical reality are truly vibration and frequency on the subatomic level. So now we know that realities exist that we cannot perceive. But can we interact with them? That is the question. We know that humans, we hear about 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. So there's definitely over 20 kilohertz, there's under 20 hertz, and we only perceive and see visible light on the light spectrum. Some light we cannot see, however, we can still measure and utilize it. And a good thing, a good example of sound is ultrasound. You can't see ultrasound, right? But you can definitely use it. We use it in hospitals all the time. You can't see radio waves, but it's being utilized. We found out that we can utilize it. For a while, we didn't even know that existed. So we're tapping into these realities now. And then when it comes to light, lasers, right? There's lasers that you can't even see and perceive. It can have an actual effect on someone and create all types of situations, right? Utilizing a laser. And then we also have about 400 types of scent receptors that can detect around 1 trillion different odors. But guess what? There's actually over 1 trillion odors in existence. So we even know that there's a limitation on what we can smell. So the previous estimate, though, for how much we could smell, how many odors, was 10,000 scents. So look at the big difference there, 10,000 to 1 trillion. Just to kind of show you really how our understanding of ourselves are changing all the time. That just because someone says that this is what it is and this is how it is, and we've even done research and we found 10 different websites proving it, just being open to the fact that this could change is really important. Because what's happened within science, especially mainstream science, is that when certain laws and theories are presented as if they're grounded actual physical fact, we go forward with that without the realization that there could be so much more. And it creates inhibits progression, really. So mainstream research, meditation studies, and studies of plant medicine experiences show that these boundaries can be broken as we stimulate and activate other parts of our brain, possibly even our DNA. So when we shift our frequency, this is my own quote, when we shift our frequency, we can see. Now, these images here, let's take a moment and enjoy the beauty of the cosmos and take a look at these images. And the ones I'm about to show you are actually very popular images that have been spread around for years now and have kind of been, you know, the representation of what we know as space. And here's one right here, nebula. And this one is the Crab Nebula, a very famous nebula. And then this one, of course. Take a look one more time. Look at the beauty. Look at the colors. So now what if I told you that what you just saw right here is not how it really looks? That's not how it looks. If you were able to be a satellite, if you were able to be the Hubble Space Telescope in that position where it is right now, your eyes were the lenses, you could take a picture, right? Let's just say you could do that. You would not see this as it is. Chances are you might see some clouds, some gas, and stars in the distance, but it'll pretty much be very, very dark and very black. The reason why we see it like this is because it's the frequency game. We're able now to perceive frequencies that we weren't able to perceive before. And what we've done there is frequencies of these gases have been translated into color. So they've showed us this in order to show what it looks like, but it's not even really that, because these are just the color representations of the gases within it. So even what we're seeing here isn't truly what we see about space. That's how manipulated whether it's intentional or not, how manipulated our view of the cosmos really are. I'm sure there are people at home that when they astral travel, they might go through this Crab Nebula, right? That's how ingrained this is, that these are the things that we see in our dreams, because this is what we've shown that space looks like. But it's not really taught to people that this is actually just enhanced images utilizing frequencies onto the color spectrum. So also some images includes colors that are correlated to sound frequencies rather than light. So even sound, if there's a vibration or frequency, that's even translated into color in some of these images, which creates a very distorted view, beautiful, but a very distorted view of actually how it will look to the physical human eye. And it's because we have technology that's able to perceive frequencies and dimensions and realities that we're not able to do with our own eyesight. We have now reached the stage in technology to prove these dimensions and realities and realms and frequencies exist, which takes us into the advanced tech or the advanced human technology. We know these realities exist. And we also know we cannot perceive them directly. So what is the next step? We can create technology to perceive and travel to those realities. And that's what's happening. When I talked to you about the Hydrogen Collider, whether they have a nefarious agenda or not, that's what they're doing there. When people are dealing with sound frequency chamber devices, Rife frequency machines, those are frequencies that we aren't able to perceive and directly interact with, where we're creating technology now in order to be able to utilize those, those frequencies, those dimensions, those whatever. So that is one component. We're definitely starting to use it, and we're seeing it permeating throughout all of reality. And we're going to get into some, more technology that is coming out in a bit here. But then another element is, are we able to travel to those dimensions or realities in which we're unable to perceive, but we know it exists? Is that a possibility? And a lot of whistleblowers, a lot of scientists would say yes. And definitely many spiritualists are now realizing, that, well, a lot of conventional scientists are now realizing that a lot of this technology is the preliminary stages for us understanding how we can travel to these dimensions that we're realizing do exist. We can create machines that can assist, but we're now learning the potential in our own bodies to be able to tap into this reality. So I want to make a differentiation here. I'm talking about advanced tech, external tech, advanced human tech, internal tech. Not only are we able to create external technology, but we're also able to do similar things utilizing our own bodies. That's how advanced our bodies are. Ancient scriptures speak about celestial beings and even craft that they experience when in a state of consciousness, utilizing meditation, yoga, plant medicines, and so much more. So can we use our own bodies to see? Some humans were just connected enough to the earth to perceive. For example, the Aborigines of Australia have many stories of different star beings that were visiting them and gifted them the didgeridoo. And the didgeridoo was actually a tool for them to be able to create a portal for these beings to come to, right? And what I'm going to do right now is actually, because I said that, I'm going to show you my event page here of the sound course that my wife and I are going to be doing. Let's see if I can pull it up quickly. In which I'm going to actually talk about that. So if any of you are interested, just a quick plug about this course. My wife and I are doing a 4-week sound healing course starting April 22nd, going to May 13th. It's $99, unlimited replay access. And oh my God, we're going to go through so much stuff. Like, I can't even tell you. 3 hours on average per class, teaching you different sound instruments and even the history. For example, the thing I just said on the didgeridoo, going through a portal and then coming out into another reality, and ETs being able to come through using the didgeridoo. A lot of information on ancient history and what, the stories of where these ancient instruments came from, and then the science behind it all, future applications, and then also how to be a sound practitioner. So if you guys are interested in that, I'm just going to throw that in the chat room right now and then get back into the presentation here. Okay, back to the Prezi. And if you want to learn more about advanced tech or black budget unacknowledged programs, you can go to our website, and I'm going to show you where you can navigate to that on the new website. But I'm going to go into talking about the advanced human tech for this for this presentation. If you want to know about advanced technology that is out there that isn't out there but exists and that are utilizing what I'm talking about here, you can go to our website and you can go to UFO disclosure, and then you can go to advanced technology and you can find some there. And one of the most amazing presentations is this one from Michael Schratt, which is called Inside the Black World. And he is Air Force historian that discovered UFOs in the Air Force and then created a book on the different black budget projects that he was discovering. And this whole presentation is 2 hours of nonstop. Oh my God, I can't believe that exists. Oh my God, I can't believe that exists. So you check that out on our website, PortalToAscension.org. It's available for free if you sign up. And then here we go into this article here. Stunning admission, the Pentagon admits it has been testing wreckage from UFO crashes and findings that may change our lives forever, experts say. And in this article, you can just type in UFO metal and you'll find it all over the place. But this is from The Sun. And they basically got Freedom of Information Act, and it came out that the Pentagon has now admitted that there is actually, let's go to the page, that there is a wreckage from a UFO crash that they're finding is very interesting. It could change our lives forever. And the wreckage is this metal that retains its memory. That is the same metal that they said that was discovered in Roswell. Let's see where we can find info on the metal. It's called nitinol, and it's a shape memory alloy that remembers its original shape when folded or quenched and snaps back seamlessly and instantly. Okay, this memory metal characteristic was reported by many witnesses at Roswell. They are omitting information on the chemical and elemental composition of the material as well as its origin. They have omitted the names of involved scientists as well, but I've since learned some of the names. I'll be contacting them. So this person is doing that here for The Sun. But what I want to show you is, okay, it's not here. I'll go back to the presentation. So on that article, it says multiple technologies were found, and it names a couple of them. So we're talking about technology that is this metal, right? But they don't say in any of these articles just one technology was found. They say multiple technologies were found, including one that was able to slow down the speed of light. Why aren't we going with that one? Why aren't we having that one as the first thing? Why don't we say like Pentagon discovery from a UFO crash, a device that helps slow down the speed of light? You know, they put it in the article right at the bottom there, and here's the link to it, but you can just search anything like metal UFO and you'll probably find it on the internet now. But that's the kind of technology that is being withheld from us or being utilized for something that we're not aware of. And what happens when you get close to the speed of light? Time slows down almost to slow down completely. So if they're finding technology in a UFO that slows light down, speed of light down, as we spoke about earlier, the closer you go to the speed of light, the more time slows down until you reach the speed of light, in which time basically should theoretically stand still. So they're finding technology in these UFOs that the UFO is able to do that. That completely blows the lid off. Maybe these are some Russian or some other kind of foreign advanced project that we're not aware of, and they're just not saying they have, even though we're asking them if it's theirs or not. That makes it look like it's some sort of interstellar or galactic travel going on here. And just to show you one more time how you can go to our new website, which I'm going to give you a tour of in a moment, in order to go to the advanced technology information and start researching more of this advanced technology that's coming out, this is how you do it. So you can see different categories there on the homepage. Website's not completely done yet, but I'm just showing you. It's going to launch in a couple of weeks here. Watch now, UFOs and extraterrestrials. Subcategory, UFO advanced tech. Go there and go wild, guys. So much crazy information. So now we're talking about advanced human technology, right? Less than 2% of our DNA produces proteins. Okay. The rest, which is 98.5% of DNA sequences, is so-called junk DNA. But now we're finding out that's not the case at all. Here's another thing that you may have been told before that is now changing a little bit. Many of the junk sections do have important roles, including regulating how DNA is transcribed and translated from there into proteins. So the code of how to transfer into proteins. If protein coding sequences are the notes of a symphony, then some of the non-coding sequences act like the conductor, influencing the pace and repetitions of the masterpiece. DiscoverMagazine.com. Mainstream conventional science is saying junk DNA seems to be the orchestra, the conductor of the symphony of the other DNA strands. So scientists say the junk DNA might just be misunderstood genetic material. I would say yes. However, it does seem to be DNA that is dormant. So the whole junk DNA, dormant DNA not working, there does seem to be that going on. So what is that? Could it be that when a DNA is fully activated through some sort of frequency, as they are saying themselves, it looks like it's creating some harmonic vibration, and you can even take the notes of the DNA strand, put it on a piano, and create this harmony, right? That some sort of frequency, some sort of harmonious activation can occur in order to initiate and activate the strands that are dormant. What could that lead to? Could that lead to limitless human potential? There's something called the Merkaba light body. And it's an Egyptian term. Mer means light, Ka means soul, Ba means body, light, soul, body. It's an etheric body, mental body, and astral body, and emotional bodies are all aspects of our light body. When we activate it, we can transcend space and time or even travel the cosmos through simultaneous time. So let's make the comparison now through advanced technology, UFO craft, and advanced technology, humans. There are stories about Lemuria. You know, I would have to list down all the different people, but from all different backgrounds that have said that at times in our past, we've been able to use our own Merkaba, which is in the shape of this star right here, in order to transfer our consciousness and go to other realities. It's basically a spaceship. If you ever seen the movie The Fountain, with I think it's Hugh Jackman, yeah, the movie The Fountain, it's all about this Merkaba light body, simultaneous time, transcending time and space, but utilizing his light body, shifting out of reality, looking at all your incarnations simultaneously happening, and then picking ones to go into in order to shift and change them, right? Because you're conscious of it. So the light body could literally be our electromagnetic field. So is there any scientific evidence for it? Well, we're made out of subatomic particles. Subatomic particles vibrate. Subatomic particles vibrate and they create an electromagnetic field, just like the Earth, just like the sun, just like every single sentient, and rocks even are basically have this electromagnetic field. When the frequencies of the subatomic particle pick up, all of a sudden our electromagnetic field expands. When it goes down, it decreases. Could this be our aura? Is our electromagnetic field our aura? Is our aura our electromagnetic field? And is our electromagnetic field the Merkaba light body? It seems to me that we're talking about the same thing here, but just using metaphors to explain what is scientifically actually occurring. Subatomic particles vibrate at harmonious speeds that creates this light body effect. It could be our aura connected to some or connected somehow. It is known as the chariot of the soul, the Merkaba, and assists in the ascension process. Another form of the advanced technology that is human is our ability to astral travel, an intentional out-of-body experience that assumes the existence of a soul or consciousness is called an astral body that is separate and connected to the physical body and capable of traveling outside it throughout the universe. That's what astral travel is. And this here is my poem on astral travel. And what I did in this poem here is I actually made it it's almost like it is a story of me incarnating. This poem actually brings together everything that I just spoke about, because it's about me coming from the center of the galaxy as a soul, coming here as etheric energy, and then incarnating as human, and then going back to the center of the galaxy, to be recycled. But it's about how I incarnate on this planet. So I took on that role. And I'll say it slowly so you can really realize how it's connected to what we're talking about here. Astral travel. Vibrating high out of the center of the galaxy. We materialize etheric energy, dropping in density, increasing in complexity. To the ends of the spiral I shall go. Planets form all around. I see a water world in the system of soul. My soul create in this illusion, I speculate, a spacesuit made of skin, into a polarized reality of duality, oneness, and sin. Carbon base joining the crystalline children. I slowly descend through the ozone. Will be born soon, so I enter a womb. Birth cycle almost ends. I rode the unity wave into this dimension. External reality, a fabricated fallacy. I forgot when time became linear. Masculine-based society suppressing her. Feminine energy creating stargates and other etheric tools going through the wormhole, spinning around like a whirlpool, here to overrule the external in this earth school. From my eyes, I finally lifted the wool. I reincarnated in this planet November 17th, 1982. That's my poetic representation of basically a soul starting at the void and then coming to earth to be incarnated. And here's the 12 chakra system that I touched on earlier as well, that brings the dawn. From that book says that it's probably 12 chakras. Other people say that as well. And there's only 7 of them that are actually in our body. The 8th one is the astral chakra. And then every time you go higher into a chakra, you're tapping into another level of experience within our galaxy and the universe until you get to the 13th, where you transcend your body entirely and we're just part of the void again. So it could be that each of these numbered chakras are representations of frequencies of that dimension. So if we're able to tap into all of our chakras, all 12 of them, while we live in this 3D/4D reality, then are we able to be 12th dimensional beings because we can pull information from those areas and currently live in this body? And I think that might be what the human experiment is. There's also other things, like right now we're talking about tools, right? Just taking a detour talking about tools. The humming effect. Who's the biggest tool in the world? Well, jokingly enough, it is us. We're our own biggest tool, right? Because we're our sound instruments were designed to mimic the human voice. Like, did you know these sound healing instruments that we've created, Tibetan bowls, didgeridoos, they were all designed to initially mimic what we do with our own vocal cords, because we were able to create those harmonies ourselves. So we created external objects in order to do that. We have the power we need to harmonize ourselves and tap into our innate gifts and ability. We have 3 brains. We have our mind, our heart, our gut. Each one can be activated through sound, and we can move the energy to wherever we want. So now we're going to take another pause here, and we're going to hum together, guys. And the book that I really recommend is The Humming Effect by Jonathan Goldman. Oh my God, Jonathan Goldman is an OG when it comes to consciousness and sound information, pioneering Western information and research on it. But this book right here shows you how you have everything you need to harmonize yourself. And different sounds work on different parts of your body. Ones can help with digestion and so on and so forth. Some can help with enlightenment and tapping into higher dimensional awareness. But what happens when you hum is there is actually a hormone that's created that happens from the humming of the vibration of your nostrils. And this hormone is it starts with an N. I always forget what it is, but it actually gets depleted in Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and dementia patients, right? So people that have those. And what happens is when it's depleted, there's no way to get it back. I think it's called NO2. And then maybe not, I don't know. I'm not going to say anymore what I think the name is because I forget right now. But as you hum, all of a sudden the increase of this level of hormone is skyrockets. So the theory is that hasn't been tested out by mainstream science yet, because this is humming we're talking about here, is that when you do humming, you create that and it can actually assist you with these ailments. And a great example of that is during Alzheimer's, they've realized that when dementia, when dementia patients are actually forgetting things, the one things that they don't forget are songs, memories, hums, So we're going to do a little humming right now together. This image is of the chakra seed sounds, but we're not going to do that. We're going to actually just hum our own way and kind of just freestyle it. But these are you can take a picture of it. You can download the internet. If you ever want to just do some humming on yourself and you want some sounds, want to activate all of your chakras in your body, you can do these. I would say do like 3 at a time. So let's hum together, guys. And I'll show you exactly how we're going to do this. I'll take it off screen share for now. Yes, nitric oxide. There we go. Thank you so much. That was what it is. All right. So it's a lot of information that I'm conveying here today. So that's why I love to take a pause in between so we can integrate it. And also, it's kind of like a workshop. I like to do these things like it's information, but it's also a workshop, because now we're talking about how we can be the advanced human technology. And is there science behind that, right? How can you be the advanced human technology that creates harmony within yourself? Right? Because that's what it's all about. If we don't all have harmony within ourselves, how are we going to be the caretakers of this world that's coming to be manifested soon? And maybe that world will never come until we can be in harmony with ourselves. So we're going to just get comfortable in your seat. If you want to follow, go ahead. If you don't, just go ahead and sit back and relax. That's fine too. And just take some breaths in through the mouth, out through the mouth. And then in through the nose, out through the mouth. And before anybody hums, I'm going to show you how we're going to actually do this. So you continue to breathe just normally right now as I show you. Just continue to just breathe and center yourself. And then when we inhale, continue doing what you're doing. I'm going to show you. When you inhale, you're going to let out like a hum, like You want to feel the vibration, of course, in your throat, but you want to feel like your upper lip and your low nostrils kind of vibrating too. So you're going to inhale. If you want to be intentional with it, play around. You can go. You can play around, do whatever you want, and then see if you can direct the energy to a part of your body that you feel that you need it, right? Whether it's in your head, your heart. There are certain tones that we can do. For example, oh, you'll feel that in your gut. You go, you can feel that in your head. So play around with it and see if you can direct the energy and change the way you hum. So hopefully you're still taking breaths and just relaxing and listening to me. And now I'm going to join you in these breaths. Let the air out of your mouth. On your next inhale, when we exhale, we're going to begin humming. We're going to do it 3 times. Inhale and hum. Inhale. Change it up a bit. Direct the energy. Now on the next one, I want us to all go, oh. So keep breathing, inhale. And if you do it off key, that's okay. Inhale. So that's just a little sneak peek, really, of what's possible when it comes to, humming and using your own voice. If you really want to get intentional with it, read the book. It's just nonstop information and scientific evidence of the effects of humming. And again, what I'm doing in this moment is showing us tools in order for us to be the advanced tech humans, the exo-conscious humans. Which leads me into this poem. And actually, I'm going to skip this poem, guys, because I want to get through everything today. Let me see how far we are. Around another 45 slides. So I'm going to skip this poem, but I'll keep each page up for a second or so people can stop it and watch and read it later if you want. But this poem right here is called Empower Thyself, and it's about how to be the exoconscious human, the information that I just shared. If I have time at the end, maybe I'll come back and read these. I'm just going to take a look at the chat. The Humming Book. Okay, the Humming Book name. Answering a couple questions here in the chat. Yes, there is replay access. And if you're on YouTube or if you're not on YouTube, it'll be available on YouTube immediately. So you can watch it there, youtube.com/PortalToAscension. And then everybody who signed up was also going to get an email with a replay. You go to the website, and where I showed you how to access the videos, it's going to be like that. You're going to go ahead and be able to have unlimited replay access, continue watching where you left off, add it to your list, and all of that. And then the humming book name is The Humming Effect by Jonathan Goldman. Okay, time to get into some juicy info here. Everything we just did, everybody, that was the intro. Now we're getting into like, okay, why did I just say everything I just said? First contact. Some may say that first contact has already happened, that it's happening right now. Actually, a lot of people say that. A lot of people even say disclosure has happened, right? But it's really about when everybody knows that's the real disclosure, when we're all like, this awareness isn't trying to be hid from anyone. That's the true disclosure. But yes, it's been disclosed, but has it been accepted and widely integrated into society yet? No. But there's some facts and some theories on how and first contact would be initiated. A lot of channelers have said that channeling is one of the first forms of contact, because what you're doing in that moment is you're having a vibratory match and a telepathic communication where thought processes are being relayed to you through this connection through through a vibratory match, and now you're basically having first contact and able to relay information. And then telepathy, getting downloads, information. We did an event with Grant Cameron called Music and the UFO Connection, in which he shows that many of the most famous songs in the world and artists have actually stories that their music was inspired through UFO or alien sightings, right? So that's for free on our website too, by the way, PortalToAscension.org. You can check that out. 2-hour presentation on the downloads that people have been receiving from ETs to create music, right? So telepathy, that's happening. Meditation with intention can equal experience. Meditation with intention equals an experience. What experience do you want? Are you meditating on open contact for yourself? Are you meditating on communication with these beings? That's another form of first contact. Walk-ins. We also did a conference, a 3-day conference on walk-ins with 22 presenters in the second week of January this year, in which 20 of them were walk-ins themselves, that are people that claim to have walked in from a different life on a different planet, extraterrestrial, angelic realm, interdimensional being that had some sort of soul contract. What happens is the being on Earth experiences the trauma, the soul checks out, and then this soul comes and talks to that soul, and they have an agreement to switch places. The soul is the same soul, fragmented. It's another aspect of the same person. And then comes in. So we did a whole 3-day event on this phenomena, and I was convinced, like the information was pretty amazing. So that, and on YouTube, we're releasing Conversations with a Walk-In starting next month. Every week, there's going to be a different episode, Conversations with Walk-Ins. So that's another form of first contact. Healing amnesia. What did I just show you right here? What does this do? What does this do? What does this do? What does this do? Well, it leads to the healing of amnesia. We don't remember our past lives. We don't remember our ET lives. Not all of us anyway. It's not a conscious, intentional, just right there. When we do these things where we bring harmony to our reality, all of a sudden our consciousness unlocks, our DNA unravels, and all of a sudden we can heal amnesia. And through healing amnesia, we can get into a world of first contact because we can remember. When we remember, we're more harmonious, we're more peaceful civilization. These beings will be coming down here to interact with us. Just like the Israeli space chief, the one who founded the Israeli space department, I guess, space agency, he just said recently that, we've been in contact with the Galactic Federation for years, and they just aren't interacting with us yet because we aren't ready as a species. We're just a war-fearing civilization at this point. Astral travel, out-of-body experiences, and the positioning of a solar system. I hope you remember what we showed about the Milky Way galaxy and the dynamics of it all, and how our position in relation to the Galactic Core affects our experience on Earth. So could first contact also have something to do with that? This article here, I'm going to touch on for just a few seconds, is how during the world crisis, the current world crisis, what is going on, it seems that many institutes that would be initiated during... Am I sharing your screen right here? Oh, no, I'm not. I'm sorry, guys. Let's go back here. Okay, yes. So First contact. You heard everything I'm saying, and it's pretty much just an outline of it right here. Channeling, telepathy, meditation, walk-ins, healing amnesia, astral travel, out-of-body experiences, and a position of a solar system. And this is the article in which many different institutes, political organizations, really, that would be implemented during a first contact crisis, as they tried to call it, or a first contact situation, have been initiated during this current world situation over the last year. So, and then also in the relief bill that happened back in December, we have the 180 days to disclosure. So we have a lot of UFO disclosure occurring simultaneously, and even snuck into a bill having to do with the US right now and their relief package when it comes to what's going on in the world, the viral situation. So that's just interesting to note, because these two scientists are the ones that really said that, like, right now is the perfect time for first contact, because many institutions have come down, many beliefs, many traditions, ceremonies, all the things that would keep us from being like, oh my God, ET's just landed. This is huge. Let's see what we do. All the things that would keep us from it, because we have so much on our minds already, and so many ceremonies and traditions that we're doing on, have really come to a halt during this last year, giving us the opportunity to actually have some time to actually look at the situation rather than just being so caught up in the rat race. So there was so Hartfield and Trueblood surveyed some people in the UK, and they said, imagine a scenario in which scientists receive an unambiguous message from extraterrestrials, alien life forms on a distant planet of the following options. Which would be your preference in terms of how humanity's response to this message should be determined? This is what the public said. They believe that first contact should be with scientists. 39% said that. 15% said elected representatives. 11% said a planet-wide referendum. And then another 11% said by a citizens' assembly of randomly selected adults. And then 23%, so about a quarter of all that was surveyed, were like, I don't even know. I haven't had time to really think about that, basically. So, and this is the quote from what I said about the past article. We suggested there are some similarities between current world crisis and a first contact event. Both situations are scientific in nature, have significant social, economic, and political impact. Both affect every human on Earth, and both are external threats. See how they put that in there? Put two humans on the same side. I got to put my own disclaimer here. I don't believe it's a threat. The conspiracy theorist. What was once ridiculed by mainstream media and government is now being seriously considered. They, for so long, for so many decades, if you were talking about UFOs and ETs, ever since the 50s, really, it was ridiculed. They would have noise in the background. There'd be a green man there. There'd be a mayor of a town next to a guy with an alien green suit making fun of it. It was all ridiculed, made fun of, laughed about. You don't want to bring this stuff up when it comes to mainstream media. But now, all of a sudden, what's happening? It's being seriously considered. What happened there? Well, to really give you the history of that, we need to start with talking about something like Project Mockingbird. I have to use throat spray because my throat is hurting from talking so much. So Project Mockingbird, I'm pretty sure most of everybody listening right now knows about this. A project was undertaken by the CIA in the beginning. I messed up my own rule. A project undertaken by the three-letter agency beginning in the 1950s, in which they recruited American journalists into a propaganda network. They recruited journalists who were put on payroll by this three-letter agency and instructed to write fake stories that prompted the views of the intelligence agency. Student cultural organizations and magazines were allegedly funded as fronts for this operation. Student organizations, cultural organizations, magazines, entire news agencies were funded by that. So not only were these individuals getting payrolled from this agency, but they were also getting paid full-time from the agency that they were news anchors for, to imply that they were actually working for these news anchors, but they were 100% had an agenda. Shortly after, it expanded to influence foreign media. That's something a lot of people don't know. It actually expanded, because what is this agency? This agency is not the domestic one, it's the international one. They shortly expanded to influence foreign media as well. It was said to have closed down But just like what happens with a lot of these projects is they become black budget projects. So they're still saying that this is another component here I just threw in here. So they was said that they had closed down, but more likely continue to go. For example, they're saying like Roswell did not happen, right? Even though there's a lot of information that's come out about it, there's some articles that prove that things were found. But when what I'm going to show you right now, the documents I'm going to show you, they do say that Roswell did not happen. And what is occurring is this. Have you ever heard of the notion of they're not ready for the truth when it comes to ETs? You might have seen it in many ET movies. You might have seen it in the show Roswell. You might have seen it from Richard Dolan talking about his whistleblowers that he spoke about. Even Greer, so many people have said that they don't believe we're ready for the truth. We're not ready to handle it. So what really is happening here is that they don't want to let us know that they've been lying to us for so long and have reverse engineered and had certain things, metals and technologies for so long, because if they do that, then all of a sudden we're going to get upset at them for lying to us. Many people dying, cancers not being, I won't say not what they're going to be because that's also a banned word, but all these things in health and alignment not coming into alignment, right? So much detriment could have been avoided if this came out in a conscious way. So now it's inevitable. People like you, people like me, and all the people I work with, there's so much of this information out there. It's inevitable. It's coming out. They can't do anything about it. So they wanted to take it. They wanted to grab it by the horns and do it in their own way. So what did they do? They started drip disclosing the information. There's water on Mars. Oh, there's this now. We found microbial life here. We found organic matter on Venus, which I'm going to get into in a bit. And they're going to say all these things. And then they're like, oh my God, look at the 3-letter agencies. They've been lying to us. We're the poor government. Oh my God, woe is me. These individuals have been lying to us all the time. We're the government, and we demand that you tell us the truth. But Roswell never happened. That's what basically the narrative. If they say Roswell happened, it's completely connected to the government, so they can't accept it. But they do not deny that in the 50s, there was a UFO flyover in Washington, D.C. that many believe were actually the German Nazis from Antarctica. Some people believe were ETs. So they don't deny that. The Navy even says that happened. But they don't want to admit Roswell happened because of the huge cover-up and the huge lie that it would be that if they said that they knew all along. So what's happened now is they're saying that didn't happen, the other stuff happened, and in the 50s when that happened, we got curious. We started looking, but none of the government officials were informed about it, so the 3-letter agencies started doing their own thing, going into their black budgets, going into the directors of these agencies, having their own agendas, and now we're finally realizing they lied to us all the time, and the government is saying, screw you guys, tell us the truth, bring it out. What have they done there? They've completely got rid of all responsibility for the fact that they lied to us, right? They're now blaming it on the other, and they're blaming it on individuals that are no longer directors of these organizations. So it completely gets rid of them being responsible for not releasing this in the first place, which is what they're getting to. And here is the article you can see the website at the top here, one of the 3-letter agencies. This is the article saying that Roswell did not happen, that it was a weather balloon. There's many pages here. Email me or just search UFO and then the 3-letter agency's name, and you'll go right to this page over here that has all this information. Here we go. Look. Research revealed that the Roswell incident was not even considered a UFO event until the 78 and 80 timeframe. So they're basically just really doing a lot to discredit it right there. And this is the page of all those declassified documents that happened only 2-3 months ago now. This was put up. And you can see the Roswell one is right here somewhere at the bottom right here. That's the one we just saw. But these are some of the other ones that were released. And you can see right here, right in the middle, subject, celestial body observed over Antarctica. Oh, that's very interesting, right? Key to the extraterrestrial messages. Wait, what? Extraterrestrial messages on these guys' website? What are they talking about? French government UFO study, which the French government was one of the first ones to disclose this in their UFO files. And now that last one that I showed you, key to the extraterrestrial message, is a smoking gun. This was it's hard to read this text here, and I read it a while ago, but basically this individual sent out a message from space into space, and guess what? They received the message back. And here is the message back in numbers and in letters. And then they received a decoding, how to decode it. They don't have on the website what the decoding is, but they received 2 message responses to a message sent out by this individual into space, right? And this was what they got back. And they also found out, like, for example, they say the spaces in between represent punctuation in the words, right? And I highly recommend going here and reading all this and trying to figure it out, because there's just so much information there, and we need more and more citizen researchers really to decipher this, because they're not going through it. But what's really interesting is that this information came out years ago, but the only way to get it was to go to Washington, D.C., the Library of Congress, go to one of those old school library machines, type in the keywords, and find it through that. But if you don't know the keywords, or you weren't there, you don't know what to look for, you might not find it. So what happened with the Freedom of Information Act requests that have been going on quite a lot over the last couple of years, John Greenwald from the Black Vault has done a lot of them, is that they were forced to make it available online in a searchable format, and that's what we have now. Now, this one is another 3-letter agency website, which is the one that starts with an F agency, and this is theirs on UFOs as well, flying saucers, German scientist article on flying disc, the light phenomena east of this place right here. I'm just showing you one page out of many. Flying saucers in Spain and North Africa. And as a Pentagon official just said last week, there are way more UFO sightings than anybody in the public would ever realize. There's much more going on than you could even think. It's just like ongoing all the time. So the UFO conspiracy, they aren't ready for the truth, is what we've been told. The weaponization of space, what are they attempting to do in order to make these military officials be the ones that are disclosing? And why they keep calling it a threat? When they've said themselves, there is no evidence at all that there's no evidence at all there's a threat. But why are they saying that? Well, this is why. They're witnessing UFOs over nuclear facilities. That's why. Since the number one thing that is being seen, whether it's nuclear warhead creation or just a nuclear plant, is UFOs around nuclear facilities. What are they doing? Why do they want our nuclear warheads? Are they trying to de-arm us? There was also Russian nuclear warheads a couple of decades ago that was disarmed by UFOs. That's mainstream information out there too. So it's got them scared. What's going on? What's going on? So, and this is now a quote from a Pentagon representative. Our aviators train as they fight. Any intrusions that may compromise the security of our operations, tactics, or procedures is of great concern. As the investigation of unidentified aerial phenomena sightings is ongoing, we will not discuss individual sighting reports or observations. So this is also why they're scared. Our aviators train as they fight. Any intrusions that may compromise the security of our operations, tactics, or procedure is of great concern. This is why they're talking about it, right? Ultimately, there might be an underlying agenda where it's all about disclosing this anyway. It's backfiring on them, but it seems that people that aren't in the know are at least being like, oh, we need to look out for this because it's a national security threat. Here are 2 articles that take you 2 pages that show you all the different UFO sightings at nuclear facilities. Many, 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 many of them. So you can, click on them there, or you can just simply search on the internet, UFO sightings at nuclear facilities. Now, this is one of my most fun ones, if that's the right grammar. This one I really love to share with people, and I've been saying this for a few years now. Have any of you heard of Project Stargate? Well, Project Stargate was a program, a remote viewing program with a 3-letter agency, in which this 3-letter agency is marked down right here, actually hired remote viewers, or maybe trained remote viewers, to travel, remote view travel to Mars 1 million years BC. The planet Mars. This is what I'm showing you right here, except for this article in the middle, is all directly from their own website at .gov, right? In the top, what does it say? The planet Mars, time of interest, approximately 1 million years BC. And just to go over a little bit of the transcript here, the subject, this is the individual that is remote viewing. I'm seeing it's like a perception of shadow people, very tall, thin. It's only a shadow. It's as if they were there and they're not. They're not there anymore. The 3-letter agency monitor. Go back to a period of time when they are there. It's like I get a lot of static online and everything. It's like breaking up all the time, very fragmentary pieces. I just keep seeing very large people. They appear thin and tall, but they're very large. Wearing some kind of strange clothes. Whether what this individual is seeing or not on Mars is true, right? The whole fact that they're even engaging with this and have this on their site as a transcript, this is not even, if you read the whole thing, your mind's going to be blown over and over and over again. You can keep reading it over because this goes deep into the description of what happened on Mars 1 billion years BC. So, and then this is an article here. You look on the internet anywhere, just type Mars remote viewing and you'll find it, right? But this article says, did these guys really actually project to Mars in 84? We asked the psychic spy, and the answer is yes, they did. And here are more documents from their site just to show this is the Project Stargate website. So what I just showed you, this is the page where you can go through these articles and you can go ahead and look into it yourself. Recently, we just landed on Mars. The Mars rover just landed there. And there have been some discoveries since that. This image was just taken for the Mars rover, and it shows this little speck right here. And you can see right there, right? So initially, it was thought to be a speck of dust. But 3 images were taken back to back in a matter of seconds, right, of the same area. And this image only appears in the 3rd image. And then, through some analysis that other researchers have done, it doesn't come up to be a speck of dust. So there's actually, I'm just showing you this right here, but there are actually around 4 or 5 different images of the new Mars rover and discoveries that are very anomalous. And you can check that on the internet. And now it's even believed by mainstream science that Mars used to look very similar to Earth. So what happened to it? What happened to Mars? And a little detour here. I'm going to check the chat, say hello to everybody. Take a look at as we're on YouTube as well. Cool. Just checking everybody's good. If there are any questions right now, I'm going to check to see and maybe answer a couple of them. Okay, these questions are good for later. So let's just get back into this presentation. So this right here now is some Mars anomalies. Let's get into some Mars anomalies. Let's see if I can pull it up. So there's definitely things going on in the universe. And there's a lot of anomalies happening that just shouldn't be there, right? And I spoke about a couple of things like the Stargate of the sun, spoke about the metal object that was blocking the sun out of another star system, another solar system. But then we also have anomalies that we've been discovering for a while. And something like this, for example, is considered to be actually, this is from, outside the atmosphere satellite, but trees and shrubs. This photo right here, trees and shrubs. And then this right here, Mars, trees and shrubs. More trees. And a lot of these things, like, glass tubes, for example, what is used is spectral analysis in which they look at the different colors that come out utilizing different types of frequencies, and they can tell if these are solid things, if they're made out of metal, if they're made out of glass. That is basically how they come up with things like glass tubes, for example. More glass tubes. Okay, here's the Giza pyramids, right? And then here is a view of Mars. riverbed. And this one's cool. This is a monolith on Mars. And this is a monolith on Phobos too, which is Martian moon, and other monoliths that have been found throughout the solar system. And, you know, they can quantify it by doing things like this, where they break it down. Like, here's the edge of the monolith, here's the back of the monolith, here's the shadow of the monolith, here's the base of it, here's the angle that it's at, here's the fact that it looks like a triangle up there. So I'm not saying every single one of what I showed you is exactly what they're saying it is. I'm showing you these are anomalies. These are questions that we should have. And here is an image of what Mars may have looked like a little while ago. And now there are a lot of images of basically reverse aging Mars to see what it could look like, utilizing the beds and the sea beds and the river beds and filling them with water and seeing how it would decay over time. So it's pretty much an accepted consensus that Mars looked very similar to Earth, or at least had lush land in some time in the past. And this is one of the images of what they think it could have been, you know, pretty much before it lost its atmosphere and it became what looks like a dead planet right now. They say billions of years ago, liquid water flowed across the Martian surface. As the red planet lost its atmosphere, it also lost the ability to hold onto water. So most theories propose a new model suggests that Mars would have started off warmer and wetter if it had begun closer to the sun and slowly moved outwards. Well, that's very interesting, because did you know that Earth is actually moving away from the sun at 1.5 centimeters per year? So is Mars. So is Venus. Mars actually exists within the Goldilocks zone, right? So the Goldilocks zone is a great area for third dimensional existence to exist naturally without maybe having certain technologies in order to harmonize our life, right? So Mars exists within that. Other dimensional experiences could actually still occur on other planets within this reality, but maybe not, maybe outside of the Goldilocks zone. But Mars used to be closer to where Earth's current position is. So it would have been actually a perfect candidate to have this life on it. And now it's slowly moved further and further away. So whether we destroyed Mars because we were an advanced civilization, or if Mars started losing its atmosphere as it started moving further and further away from the sun, those are the two different possibilities. And did you know this? From conventional science, from looking at the way a planet is moving away from the sun, Earth will be able to host life for another 1.75 billion years or so, according to a study published on 18th September in an astrobiology publication. The method used to make the calculation can also identify planets outside the solar system with long habitable periods, which might be the best places to look for life. So basically, for another 1.75 billion years, we're in the Goldilocks zone. After that, we're no longer in the Goldilocks zone. Atmosphere and weather on Earth would have changed substantially, whether we can still exist here, whether we need to be more advanced civilization at that point so that we can live on Earth harmoniously. That's yet to be discovered. And just to drill it home even more, typing in these things in Google, this is what you find. Nonstop pages by them. It's so much a thing that it's just nonstop information. This is something I just recently found out. There's actually been a discovery of organic matter found on Venus. There's an unexplained molecule on Venus that hints that there could have been life or there is life. And the molecule is called phosphine. It has been detected. Well, first of all, phosphine is formed naturally via the anaerobic decay of phosphorus containing organic matter. Phosphine made industrially from white phosphorus. I don't need to say that. So basically, phosphine is formed naturally through decay of organic matter, and then it's also formed unnaturally. So it's either formed from organic matter or it's either formed because someone is actually creating it. It has been detected in Venus' atmosphere, about midway in its atmosphere, raising the thrilling question of whether the molecule might be a sign of life on the planet. On the rocky planets, life is the only known source of the compound on rocky planets. Although it forms without a helping hand near the energetic cores of gas giants, Life seems impossible on the surface of the solar system's hottest world, but in the middle of its cloud layer offers a more promising environment in terms of temperature. If you go into the middle of the cloud atmosphere of Venus, the temperature is from 65 to 75 degrees. Even if it's not a sign of life on Venus, the unexpected observation is exciting. So the same area that is discovered has that temperate climate. Whether it's life or not, it has to be really exotic mechanism. So what's going on there? Phosphine has been detected in the Venus atmosphere, raising the question of whether the molecule might be a sign of life on the rocky planet, While conditions on the surface of Venus are hostile to life, it seems the environment in the upper cloud deck is actually livable when it comes to the temperature, so easier to create some sort of structure. So when they started looking at the records of if they have ever discovered phosphine before on the planet Venus, they did. When they first went to Venus in the 70s, they found phosphine. They looked back at the data and they realized that this discovery of phosphine that they found last year in 2020, in 2020, was actually discovered in the 70s, but they didn't put two and two together, or they did and just put it under the rug. So this is kind of very interesting that even though there are people trying to discredit this, no one can figure out how this is being created unless there's some organic material decaying, which means Venus could have had life on it long time ago, or it could have life on it right now. Now we enter Galactic Origins. So we've given you all the context, and what I did for the last 20 minutes was really about providing information that, even people that you would think maybe would throw this out are now starting to believe that this is reality. And there's a lot of evidence and things popping up that make us have to question, is this a possibility that there are ETs, there are interdimensionals, there are beings that live out there? And is it possible that we're connected to them, or they're even visiting on our planet right now? So what do we know about Lyra? Vega, which is the brightest star located just 25 light years from Earth, is visible in the summer sky of the northern hemisphere. The star is part of the constellation Lyra, with the stars Deneb and Altair form an asterism known as the Summer Triangle in Lyra. And what I'm doing here is I'm just giving you the map of Lyra, which is a place that many individuals and others say that we come from, that our ancestry comes from. So the neighborhood constellations are the Cygnus, the Draco, Hercules, and Vulpecula. Those are the constellations that are near Lyra. In Lyra, there's something called a ring nebula, which is a sphere of glowing gas thrown off by a central star. It appears brighter at the edge than at the center, and thus takes on the appearance of a luminous ring, which is right here in below. Could it be humanity's origin from there? Is a soul group from there? Is the human template from there? And here you can see the constellation in the night sky in the background. Solifat, which is the second brightest star in Lyra, is a blue-white giant. It's called B93, located around 620 light years from our solar system. And Sheliak is the constellation's third brightest star, is a binary star system found around 960 light years apart from us. And it's 30 times this bright star Sheliak is 30 times bigger than our sun. When you go and start looking into the ancient history of humanity, and how we came and entered into this reality and this planet and this third dimensional Earth, and you look at Galactic Origins, something that you come across is that there was something called a founder race. A founder race was a race of energy, really sentient conscious beings that were energetic beings that came from the void in the center of our galaxy, and then they manifested themselves as humanoids in Lyra and then fragmented out to the rest of the constellation. Some people believe that these beings were the founder gods called the Elohim, which were a group of beings, not just one race, but a group of entities and energy that basically came in through Lyra, called the Prism of Lyra, hence the name Prism of Lyra. And they decided they wanted to create life just like Source, just like everybody does. Humans want to create babies. Scientists want to create computers. We all want to create something in our image, right? They decided to start the experimentation in the constellation of Lyra because of two things. It was a star system located fairly close to the galactic center, where they had come out of, and where, I don't know, maybe more people are coming out of, who knows? And two, it had the conditions most favorable for physical life. It was a perfect place in order to incarnate physicality. The some of the information I'm going to be sharing in the next few slides came from the book, The Prism of Lyra, which is a great book. I highly recommend it. I've worked with Lisa Royale in the past, and it breaks down so much amazing information. And within this book, it's only around 100 something pages, and it's about a galactic origins all the way to Earth and the genetic hybridization program as well. And it's online for free. You can just search it and you can read it. Now, why do I have this image up here? Battlestar Galactica. Has anybody here watched Battlestar Galactica? Because this is a really amazing show if you break down what is actually going on there. Well, in Battlestar Galactica, you feel like you're in a futuristic sci-fi show, right, the whole time. But not until the end do you realize that all this stuff that took place, the traveling of beings from one civilization to another, a place where there were 12 colonies and the sun, 13, right? That they were basically traveling through space looking for a place to incarnate and come to. And then in the end, you realize that they are actually in our past millions of years ago, and they came to our planet. And then when they crashed on Earth, they destroyed this spaceship because they had to destroy this technology because they like something had happened to this planet, to the spacecraft. They lost all the technology. They started from scratch. And then generations later, they become us humans, which is why the last episode of Battlestar Galactica is modern day New York, them walking down the streets. And it's like the reincarnation of this girl in the middle. She stayed alive the whole time, the robot. The AI stayed alive the whole entire time. And so what's actually going on here is Battlestar Galactica is actually a story of Lyra and the incarnation on Earth. It has a huge connection to that we were beings from other planets, whether it was Nibiru, whether it was Mars, whether it was Maldek, whether it was Lyra, and we had to leave because of wars between these planets. And what occurred was they eventually ended up on Earth, the promised land of Earth that they've heard about, and they incarnated here and created a civilization. In the beginning of the show, Battlestar Galactica, it starts with the Gayatri Mantra. The Gayatri Mantra is the oldest known religious, I don't want to say religious because it transcends religion when it was written. The Gayatri Mantra is the oldest known spiritual hymn on the planet Earth. And it actually speaks about the origins of humanity, the Gayatri Mantra. And they have it as the introduction of it, right? And the Gayatri Mantra is found in the Rig Veda, which takes us to Vimana. The Vimana is also something that is found in the Rig Veda. And reincarnation really goes into the story when it comes to Battlestar Galactica. It's really a huge component on it. The Vedas also imply that humanities came from the stars and that there are many places in heavens where humans and humanoids dwell. A spacefaring civilization is implied in many of the Vedic texts. The Vedas also happen to teach a lot about the power and significance of sound and vibration. And in the Vedas, they have something called the Vimana. And what you're seeing there and below is an actual image from one of the Vedas. And the Vimana is basically a spacecraft in the Vedas. Vimanas of the Sanskrit epics are flying chariots employed by various gods in the Vedas. The sun, which is the chariot, and Indra and several other Vedic deities are transported by flying wheeled chariots. And here are some more images of Vimana, and this is supposed to be the breakdown of how the technology works for Vimana. And then ancient Indian structures, which are ancient pyramids, are designed to mimic Vimanas, which are similar to the whole understanding of the Tower of Babel, and that these ancient people were trying to create a tower to reach gods, because the gods had left them on the planet, and then they tried to create the Tower of Babel to reach the heavens. So it was like almost like a mirror depiction and trying to get back there. So this could have actually been their honoring of the Vimana. And here's another image of the vertical section of a Vimana. And then here's another one from on the right-hand side from the Vedas, in which they show a flying UFO craft right above. All right, now this gets into the first couple of words in the title of this presentation, which is Galactic Origins. And in order to speak about Galactic Origins, we're going to have to oversimplify it because so much occurred, right? So this is a huge oversimplification because the drama of what took place for millennia in a reality where time doesn't really exist, paradox, is so complicated to say, because unless we don't have amnesia, how are we going to tap into that, right? Or if you're channeling and you're getting direct information. But all of this information is only a perspective of that being, of that cycle, of that timeline. So in order to talk about a galactic origins, we want to mention Lyra, of course, Zeta Reticuli, the constellation of Sirius, Arcturus, the Orion Belt, Earth, the Pleiades, Mars, Saturn, and Maldek, and of course, many in between. A constellation, a system, disclaimer, when I say Pleiades, I don't mean one race of Pleiadians. When I say Sirians, I don't mean one race of Sirians. These are whole constellations. One race may have existed there, 10 races may have existed there, hundreds of races may have existed there. Then oversimplification is the fact that just because you're from that star system doesn't mean that's your name. That's just the name that we've given them, right? Because that's where they came from. But I bet you the Pleiadians didn't call themselves Pleiadians, especially if there's 100 different types of races, but they come from the Pleiades, so we call them the Pleiadians, and that's the name that we have for them, right? So I'm not saying that these blonde, blue-eyed Pleiadian beings were the ones that came here. It could have been anything. Who knows what they looked like? And there may have been multiple Pleiadians, and that's also another rabbit hole, because then you can talk about rogue Pleiadians and who the rogue Pleiadians are and how that connects to Mormonism, because I think his name is Joseph Smith, said that he got direct download from the Pleiadians. So multiple timelines seem to have been merging, I feel. Because if you look back at our ancient history, there are many similar stories that seem to have taken place at different times, especially when it comes to the hybridization of humanity. So could it be that all these timelines existed, but there are different timelines and different parallel realities that maybe I didn't come from, but you did? Because that's how incarnation may work. We're just incarnating to different realities that we're choosing to go into, right? Or that we have to go into. So how did the Anunnaki do the exact same thing that the Lyrians and the Syrians did? Well, there's only two things. Either the Anunnaki are actually the Lyrians and the Syrians because that's the original story, or history repeated itself and the same thing happened at different times, or both things happen on different parallel planet Earths. And I wrote here, there's a Adam and Eve connection going on with this story of Lyra and Sirian 2. And the prism of Lyra breaks down how the Garden of Eden is connected to this whole ET phenomena. All right, I'm going to take another 60 seconds, guys. I need to go grab some water, so just give me 1 minute here, and I'll be right back. So here is the oversimplification equation. Extreme oversimplification. We have the founder beings from the void in the center going to Lyra. We have the Lyra constellation becoming pretty inhabited, multiple planets in that system being inhabited. Duality breaks out, chaos breaks out, strife between planets occurs. Entire civilizations break away from the Lyra constellation that don't agree with each other's ideology anymore, and they go out and colonize the galaxy. As they go along, they met other beings along the way, namely serpentine beings / reptilians, and the drama begins. The dance between the serpentine and the humanoid. What occurred with the fact that serpentine beings were namely here is that this galaxy was predominantly a reptilian-based galaxy. Serpentine galaxy. But when I say reptilian, I don't mean negative reptilian ETs. I mean beings that had reptilian bloodline DNA connection. They had all types of polarities. There were benevolent ones, there weren't benevolent ones, there were dragon-like beings here. Galaxy was inhabited a lot from this draconian, reptilian serpentine energy. And then we start engaging with them, interacting with them, hybridizing with them, communicating with them, wars with them. We created alliances, and the drama continued. Genetically enhanced beings. And then these founder races started going off and doing exactly what the founder race of themselves did. They maintained going to different civilizations, constellations, looking at the local population there, seeing if there was a humanoid or a species that was able to become sentient, genetically hybridizing them with their own DNA, and then they incarnated into us. These beings were in dimensions and they created us, and then since time doesn't exist and we simultaneously exist, they were able to have an experience of Earth as us while they were still themselves, incarnating consciously and unconsciously as well into these type of dimensional experiences that we are on this planet right now. Some of them were, transitioning from their reality and they were finding themselves on Earth with complete amnesia. Other ones actually intentionally went into the Earth karmic cycle and became a part of this. And then the whole goal was to involve in consciousness and become the beings that created us in the first place. So we get seeded, we evolve in consciousness over millennia. We go into other dimensions where time doesn't exist anymore. We go out into the cosmos, and then we become the beings that created us in the first place. Paradox, which is basically, that's why time doesn't exist. They literally went back in time by going lower in dimension. The more you went to dimension, it went cyclical, linear, right? And I'm just using the word lower until we come to this reality where it seems that, we're in this linear time, but as we progress into our future and evolve, time no longer becomes linear, and then we become and go into this reality that these beings were all along. That is basically the oversimplification of what the Prism of Lyra and others have said. But to go a little further and talk about the earthly experience, Sirian, Lyran, and Pleiadian connection, right? So the Pleiadians were actually known as the original Earthlings. And the reason for that is they actually had left Lyra a long time ago and they came to Earth. So some of the first, the current group of races or whoever they are in the Pleiades that had come to Earth and connected to Earth before actually came to Earth before they went and inhabited the Pleiades, the ones that have a direct DNA connection to us. But when the Lyrans and the Sirians finally found themselves to this beautiful planet, like the Battlestar Galactica, the Pleiadians didn't want anything to do with them. They had an ongoing long intergalactic feud with each other. They did not like each other. And I'm using human terms too, because who knows what the drama really was. Maybe they weren't like, yeah, I hate you. Maybe they were just like had their own experience and moved on, right? And it ended up forming an agreement though. So the Pleiadians, the Sirians, and Lyrans, the races that represent those, had an agreement to genetically alter the current species on planet Earth in order to create a humanoid that was an advanced humanoid that they can actually incarnate into and have an experience of this dimension. The Lyrans all along, though, they had an agenda of what they wanted to create. They wanted to create a fifth dimensional Earth. They didn't want to create 3D Earth. They wanted to create unity, paradise, fifth dimensional frequency. But the Styrians also had a dispute with the Lyrans. The Styrians were like, well, actually, you can't do that because what you're doing is you're violating one of the rules of the universe of free will. You're telling them that this is how they have to live. You're creating them, you're doing this, and then you're doing what's like not allowed. You're making them have to violate their free will by doing what you say instead of letting them do what they want. So the Syrians came down to Earth and they gave us something. They gave us the apple from the tree of knowledge. And they said to us, hey, you know what? You don't have to be following what these beings are telling you to do. You have the ability to tap into your own awareness and live your own life and have your own struggles and experiences and evolve in the way you want. And the humans took the apple. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about the book of the Old Testament. I'm talking about Adam and Eve. So what this breaks it down to is the Lyrans were God in the Bible, right? The Syrians, who are represented by the snake, the serpent, even though they're not reptilian, or they could have DNA there, but specifically aren't aware of them being reptilian, they actually had, they're actually represented by the serpent. So what do we have in the Old Testament? In Garden of Eden, we have the snake. So we have God, the Lyrans, we have the snake, the Syrians, and then what does the snake do? The snake goes up to Eve, the feminine, and says, hey, don't listen to God. You can know everything. Do whatever you want. Know everything. Know yourself. Know yourself. And what do? We eat it. And what happens when we eat it? We gain 3D reality. And we fall from the Garden of Eden. the end of the Sumerian world, or let's just say like the Anunnaki have that whole Garden Eden concept. Many people do. So that is how it basically connects. And it could be an ET hybridization thing that was going on. And so it's interesting to realize that the God in the Bible is considered the good guy. The snake is considered the bad guy. But in this story, the snake is only considered bad because it told humans that it could have free will, whereas God, the Lyrians, who wasn't really a god, the Syrians and the Lyrians were equals, said, no, that's not the case. This is how they got to live. And they wanted that. They wanted us to live in this fifth dimensional grace because they wanted to incarnate into this reality and live in peace, because they've lived in such struggle, strife, duality, and wars for so long, including the Orion Wars that they were a part of, right? I used to believe that there were no battles and feuds in higher dimensions. My reality is now shifting a little bit, you know? So the Syrians were in the snake in the Old Testament. And what we believe to be battle and feuding might not be how it's perceived or even interacted with in higher dimensions. That's just our own human construct. And right here, a couple of screenshots from Wikipedia just to show you how many civilizations say they come from the Pleiades. Okay, North Africa, Middle East, Europe, indigenous people of the Americas have the most, Asia, Oceania, which is the Pacific, Sahara, Africa, modern beliefs, modern literature. So all of these right here, plus much more, all have some sort of folklore saying that they originally came from the Pleiades. Multiple timelines. History repeats itself, it seems, right? The same story everywhere. And I told you earlier, the Anunnaki story of the Sumerians, right? The hybridization program, the Greek gods. If you check out my creation stories presentation, hybridization program, metaphorically spoken. And so much more all speak of genetic hybridization, right? So the question is, did it happen once and translated in many different ways with different names, or did it happen numerous times? Or are all these stories for other parallel realities, and we're now merging with souls from multiple dimensions, and we have different histories due to this? Let me read that last part again. Or are all these stories from other parallel realities? Like the Anunnaki story maybe didn't happen on this Earth. The Greek, the Lyran story maybe happened on a different parallel reality Earth. But now we're all incarnating here with these memories of our ancient past, and the timelines are now merging. A good point that might show that that could be a case is the fact that we have so many people on Earth right now, and Dolores Cannon, through her hypnotherapy sessions, said that everybody that's ever incarnated on Earth is now incarnating here again, which is why I have such an exponential increase of numbers. So beings from all types of dimensions and realities are now coming in here in order to be a part of this evolution that we're undergoing. This is what she learned through mainstream hypnosis, trying to just figure out what was going on with people, right? And here's an artist's interpretation of a Lyran being, because it is said that the Lyrans, one of the first races, actually had feline-like faces, but humanoid bodies. Let's check where we're at. We're in the home stretch, everybody. So now we're going to get into this poem here, and this poem is called "The Prism of Lyra," and it actually represents everything that I just said in regards to the story of Lyra. So again, I'm going to read. I do most of my spoken word very fast, so I'm doing it slow just so we can really get the words here, but you might want to follow along as well. The first paragraph is really about the esoteric, there is no time, space. How do we come here? The second verse is about the story that I just told you about the Syrians and the Lyrians and the Pleiadians. I rhythmically scratch records. Visionary mass appeal, holistically heal the resonance of a presence, allow yourself to feel. Fragmentation of source, self-wishing to experience was all from one thought of what if, could I be this, the polar opposite. Through the prison we came, created a prison of the brain. Enslaved? You don't think so? Well, there are no victims in this show. We're all playing a role. Ego, learn to let it go. Let the soul flow from the crown to the root. I'm letting you know it's only conceptual. Experience allows the wisdom to grow. Embrace the ignorance that spreads from the elitist control. You see, When the Syrians descended into this density, the Lyrans came, looking for a place to incarnate a name and species and a race to hold the souls of they who are interdimensional entities. Integration being the third point, anoint the Christ consciousness, sacred geometry, to protect the kids of the universe being only one galaxy. Moving closer to the center by raising our frequency, I frequently see infinite possibilities, a contractual planet with the masses on their knees. The snake in the Bible will be found to be the positivity. Polarized by the Syrians who knew about free will, gave us the choice of the blue or red pill. The Lyrans, they were enraged. They wanted to keep us ingrained in oneness and fifth dimensional grace. Instead, into darkness we came so that one day we can transcend and regain remembrance of our place in this intergalactic plane. Of extraterrestrials, just to name a few. Arcturians, Pleiadians, and Syrians who, genetically mutated early man too, create a perfect embodiment of who they are, using Stargate souls coming through stars, entering the womb to embark on a journey through the dark to once again spark and ignite the flame, rearrange neural networks in the brain to achieve enlightenment. The universe is full of abundance. Together we live the cosmic dance, the interdimensional manifestation of man, extraterrestrial incarnates, light workers. We're here to transform this land. So just to go over this one verse right here, basically I'm saying Syrians descended into density, the Lyrans came, right, at the same time. They're looking for a place to incarnate into and name a species and a race, humans, to hold the souls of they, them, who are interdimensional entities. Integration being the third point. They wanted to anoint the Christ consciousness. Protect the kids of the universe being only one galaxy, moving closer to the center, Galactic Core, by raising our frequency. I frequently see infinite possibilities, a planet with the masses on the knees. The snake in the Bible will be found to be the positivity, polarized by the Syrians who knew about free will. So that right there is talking about what I just spoke about in regards to the Bible connection. And the Sumerian origin story, which is really how I started out in this awareness of intentionally understanding the extraterrestrial connection. And in the Sumerian origin story, the earliest record of the Sumerian creation myth is called the Eridu Genesis, and the beginning of the tablet is actually missing, but there's multiple Sumerian creation stories. And in this story, it says, the gods An, Enlil, Enki, and Nihurusanga created the Sumerians and comfortable conditions for the animals to live and procreate. Kingship then descended from the heaven, and the first cities are founded. We learned that the gods have decided not to save mankind from an impending flood. Zirasudra, the king and priest, learns of this. In the later version that came after this, in the Akkadian version that was recorded, the god of the waters warns the hero and gives him instructions for building an ark, right? So that's the whole E.T. Gilgamesh connection. And then what it seems like they're talking about here is a hybridization program with our ancestors on Earth, proto-humans and the gods combined together to create Homo sapiens sapien. And now I only have a few more slides left. And this one right here, I'm going to get into the origin story. What I understood from all this information. But I'm going to take a second here. I'm going to take a look at the chat room, see how everybody's doing. I don't think I'm going to have that much time for questions. I was supposed to leave in 2 minutes from now, but that's not going to happen. Okay, getting right into this just so that we can answer a couple of things, hopefully. During my search, why did I start PortalToAscension? I started it because I wanted to know the root of everything. I wanted to know the root of religion. I wanted to know the root of humanity. But I started with, what is the root of all religion? And through that, now I created that 2 to 3 hour creation stories presentation in which it's basically my exploration of the root of religion. That's what that presentation is. And in that, I created this slide for the ending that I'm sharing here as well, because it ties into this whole component. I went through over 180 origin stories of humanity. I dissected and took out all the similarities I could find. I made my own creation story based on that. And most of these things that I have in here show up in the majority of creation stories. So I'm not taking like 1 from 10. I'm taking these elements that show up in the majority of creation stories. And it seems like this is the way it went. So this is origin according to Neil. And in my search of the root of all religion, all I found out was how amazingly interesting is the history of humanity. Like, it's just mind-blowing. I'm so addicted to learning about our history and the true history that I literally, like, sleep about thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. I watch documentaries all day. I have it in my headphones, learning new things about ancient civilizations. And I have this thirst to understand where we all came from. And through that, I couldn't figure it out because it's so vast, it's so intricate, there's so much I don't know. I have amnesia. But what I did come up with is this, what all these civilizations believed. And I also put in the number one theory, the Big Bang. So don't forget, the Big Bang's a theory too. The Big Bang is a creation story for science. So this is all in here. So origin. In the beginning, even though there was never truly a beginning, time, space, and matter did not exist. All that was void and emptiness. Within this paradoxical emptiness manifested a cosmic egg, a singularity of infinite mass and energy. This egg contained boundless potential. When this egg cracked, it released and expanded into all directions, creating a frequency, a vibration, inspiring progression and movement that eventually became what we know as space and time. Independent frequencies formed while remaining connected to the original source vibration always. The vibration continued to expand in fractal geometrical complexities as a never-expanding spiderweb. Ultimately, physicality and matter coalesce into shapes, forms, nebulae, galaxies, suns, planetary bodies that cultivated and set the stage for all sentient life to emerge in various forms of experiences. Parentheses, dimensions. Beginning with higher dimensional, non-physical to the eventual physical realms, these beings began imposing their own will on creation that was sparked by the cosmic egg, allowing the source to experience itself in every possible outcome through all that is, was, and will ever be. So from my research, that's pretty much the most similarities there. I'm just going to dissect it just really quick because I also put the science in there. So in the beginning, even though there was never truly a beginning, the paradox, space, matter, time didn't exist. There was just void. There was nothing. There's emptiness. But in the emptiness, there was still something. Paradox again. Within this paradoxical emptiness manifested a cosmic egg, and the science component, a singularity, infinite mass and energy, boundless potential in this egg. Everything was in it. But when it cracked, it released and the Om oscillation began. The vibration, the frequency had progression, movement. And then what happened? It eventually started coalescing into physical matter and became like a fractal spiderweb. Spiderweb you see a lot in origin stories. Ultimately, physical reality started creating, galaxies, planets, nebulae started coming together, and it set the stage for you and me to eventually be who we are now and come to Earth. And that is my consensus on really what a lot of people believe and what also ties in with what my research is in regards to extraterrestrials and galactic origins. And again, that origin story is the last slide of my creation stories presentation that you can check out on PortalToAscension.org, available for free, where I show you how I came to that conclusion. And you can follow me on Instagram, I_am_resonance as well. I'll be posting more events, PortalToAscension events there, conscious poetry, spoken word, and a lot of amazing information. And that is it for this presentation, everybody. 3:33 on Pacific time. How cool is that, huh? So just to share a couple of things with you, we do have a Portal to Ascension podcast now. You can go ahead and check it out on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon. Please do check out our podcast. It's not getting as much traction as I want, but it's like epic information on there with so many great people. Do go to it, leave a comment and review because that actually moves the podcast up. Check it out on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, Pandora, pretty much everywhere you can find it. iHeartRadio, and it's me basically emceeing, but I have all the speakers that we have on Portal to Ascension there. And then the last thing is my wife and myself, we are doing this sound healing course here that if anybody is interested in attending our sound healing course, I'm going to get to a couple of questions in a moment here, but our sound healing course starts on April 22, it's 4 weeks, goes to 5/13, unlimited replay access. Go to PortalToAscension.org, check it out. I'm going to post it in the chat room as well and learn all the elements that we're going to be going over, around 3 hours each, taught by my wife and myself. And also, Here we go. Here's the new website that is not fully launched yet. You guys are right now seeing history in the making, because it's taken me so long to put this site together, and it's the amount of traffic that we're going to get here, the amount of people that we are working with is so unprecedented that this site is just all my love and energy has really been put into it. And you can see here's the home page. I'm just going to show you a few web pages here. Here's the upcoming events page. See how we got it all broken down. There's 3 pages of amazing events there now, full-on conferences, retreats, workshops, multiple day events, summits, and then also split up by section, True World History. And that has all the subcategories. See that? UFOs and ETs. That has all the subcategories. And on and on and on. So pretty soon this will be launched, ready for you guys to interact with. Some upcoming events, Sound of Vibrational free conference. You're going to be able to register on our new website once it launches. And here's like the page for it right now. This is how it's going to look. It's going to be a free event. Every 3 to 4 months, I'm going to do a free conference on sound of vibration with all-day sound of vibrational healing. Here's another one I'm doing with Laura Eisenhower and Agi Nos that are co-hosting with me, called Unveiling ET and Galactic Heritage. So if you guys are into Galactic Origins, you should definitely attend that one. That's going to be a 2-day event. Here's another one, the Pyramid Knowledge Conference. Some experts on pyramid awareness: William Henry, Trisha McCannon, Dr. Sam, the researcher from the Bosnian Pyramid Complex, and then other individuals that I haven't worked with before that are really great. So that's going to be breaking down esoteric and the science behind it all. And here is the Watch Now page. This isn't done yet, but I'm adding the thumbnails. But just look at how robust it's going to be. You're going to be able to view some amazing content here in such an efficient and user-friendly manner. I'm just so excited about launching this because it's honestly been extremely stressful doing this over the last year and a half, to the point that I'm like, will it ever end? Will I ever have a new website? The amount of tears that I've cried over the fact that I can't get this site up, I don't even know. And it's because it's a huge ordeal really to put this out there. And it's my life. It's my, not only like how I survive, but it's also like everything that I'm passionate about. So it's just taken so long to put up. And I'm really glad to say that we're in the final stretches now, and you guys are going to be able to enjoy it very soon. And you can see it's just going to be great. And we also have a speaker page where we have all of our speakers, hundreds of speakers here. You can change by category. You can even look up list and see how many, you can see how many events we have per speaker, right? So it's going to be so cool. All right, so that's it for me on that level right there. I'm going to take a look at a couple of questions. Do have to leave here in about 10 minutes. Where was the article on time travel published? I'd like to read it. Type in, oh, here we go. Boom. I'm putting it in the chat room right now. Article on time travel. There you go. Bethany said, thanks for doing the show. How does the Merkaba connect with various aspects of the subject you're discussing in various dimensions, sacred geometry, and et cetera, time, et cetera? Well, that's the thing. When you can increase your Merkaba to whatever speed it needs to be at, where your frequency is at that level and you go to simultaneous time, time no longer exists. So that's how it connects to time. You're able to interact and be aware of multiple lives coexisting. That's the theory behind it all. Also, in regards to various dimensions, the Merkaba light body could actually be an internal spacecraft in order for us to utilize to go to different planets and other dimensions. Susan asks, where do you think we go when we die? What are your ideas about God or the absolute? Well, I don't feel God as a person sitting on a throne with a beard, or even anybody sitting on the throne as this individual entity consciousness per se exists. I think it's more of a collective vibration and frequency that maybe has no form or shape, and that we personify it and give it that. So that's my whole component with that. But I do believe there is higher aspects of energy at work, and there is a source, and there's divine love that permeates through all of cosmos and in our own hearts, and that we're connected to it always. A quote that I've been saying that I kind of made up recently is, the most beautiful thing that darkness, the most beautiful thing, the most unconditional thing that light ever did is what was allow the darkness to live within it. If everything is light, everything is conscious, everything is God, everything is source, then why would the darkness be separate of that? Well, it's not. The most beautiful, the most unconditional thing that the light, the source ever did was allow darkness to live within it. So, you know, that's kind of like where I'm going with my beliefs in that. Now, where do I go? When do we go where we die? I think there's many different things that could occur. Whether we get a conscious choice every time we transition to leave, or whether we get stuck into a karmic cycle because we haven't experienced certain things that we need to do or evolved or transcended certain things yet. Those are two possibilities. And unless I'm there or have a near-death experience, I won't fully know. But I definitely believe that it could be one of those. Mark, great presentation. Neil, thank you. Fascinating work. Cool. All right. Where did this cosmic egg come from? Are you postulating God as the primal creator? So the cosmic egg, yes. Where did this cosmic egg came from? That's exactly my question too. Source, right? Or let's look at the conventional mainstream understanding, Big Bang. Now it's believed that there's multiverses, and one multiverse hit our empty multiverse, and there was an exchange of energy, and in that point there was a Big Bang, and then it came through. That's what they believe. So yes, this cosmic egg was there, but I'm not saying it was just manifested out of nothing. There was some sort of intention there, some sort of infinite possibility, some sort of seeding of this universe. But maybe the source, the God, isn't the source of just this universe, but all the multiverses, and we're just one experience within our universe of infinite other experiences. But yeah, I'm definitely not saying there is, like, I'm not saying there is no God or some element of that, meaning there isn't source or energy field or something like that created it. But definitely there was some sort of intention, and there is grand design there. I feel that it's not one side or the other. It's not evolution or grand design. I think it's somewhere in between. Yes, and if you want to find the docs on the 3-letter agency, just type in 3-letter agency and the word UFO, and it will be the first thing that you find in search engines, most likely. Okay, I think that's about it for now, everybody. So I would like to say that I love every single one of you, and I'm so happy that you spent some time with me here. There will be unlimited replay access, and the replays will go out. Well, on YouTube, you can watch it immediately after this. And then the replay will go out to all the people that have signed up through email on our website in about 2 days from now. So take a look over there as well. I think I'm going to go ahead and end with a poem, spoken word piece. Okay, firstly, let me know, is my sound okay? Is there some background interference? Because there's some cooking going on here. I want to make sure there's no interference. The first yes is all I need. Check. Or if the first, okay, sounds okay, cool. All right, everybody. Okay, so this one is one that I do often. Maybe some of you have heard it, but I like it. It's my favorite one. This is really about incarnation and the cycles and just the vastness of space, and then even to the nitty-gritty of the social constructs of this earth. And this is called the journey. The journey goes on for generations. The travelers who disperse their light amongst all the willingly incarnated souls. But what if the ones who didn't know? Amnesia of the internal endowment to reserve a place in the 5th dimension for themselves. The ego took control in a better life they shall never know. I welcome you, dark one, into the lap of luxury followed by pain and woes. We all sold our souls to the devil, but the devil exists not. Negative energy we dub as evils creates the demons of whom we are fearful. Take the D from the demon, put it in front of the word evil, and now you have a personified devil. Our thoughts and experiences create a creature only exists in the mind. Our desires and wants creates a full-featured ego that keeps our lower selves reaching the divine. Intellect. Love and a perfect understanding we will have with one another. I welcome you, my brother, my sister, my lover, to become one, to help me become one, before reality tears me from duality and back into ether's imagination. You see? I'm the ghost of lives past. Generations have descended to gain these experiences, and I pray the human situation is critical, mind analytical, won't let me forget the fall of angels and demons in this third-dimensional world. Is this planet yours? May I hide amongst the lost souls? Hide out for a bit, drink some liquor, smoke some weed, and step outside for a cigarette? Yes, sure, man. Here's your social security card, and you may live. Reincarnated to a kid to live, give back to the society, when I'm locked in borders, I smolder, but through the ashes comes a horde of abstract thought. Who is not a ghost of spirit, but just is an enlightened individual. Equality minds elitist political goal, the cynical flow, and pain and roads, and shamanistic pagan rituals. We will resurrect the Messiah in all of us. It's time to trust our brothers and sisters. Unity of mind, conscious awareness in the rise. The yin-yang intertwined, masculine and feminine lovers intertwined. Spit words from the chakra points in my spine. Relentless but still find inner peace silk down the pace of my corrupted mind. Chemtrails, aspartame, fluoride, kept my awareness fried. Getting drunk and high about the consequence of why am I really here? But now I know. It's to help humanity steer into the right direction. For every single one of you, I feel affection. We're in the same situation. So erase the Alkin moments. Trying to walk around and get that bonus. You remember the Arcturians will be one of the group of interdimensional beings. The near future through mass sightings will help us those really breathe. So raise your frequency if this is what you want to see. And don't try to break free from the shackles of captivity that we formed in our own mentality, because you and I, we are, and we've always been free. Love you all so much. Thank you so much for being here with me. Check out PortalToAscension.org. If you're interested in the sound course, please do attend it. It's going to be really epic. One of the best presentations and courses that we put together, my wife and I together, working together finally on an event, a course online. We haven't worked on an online event like this together before. So we're doing this course together. You're going to get to see my wife a lot and learn from her information too. And then lastly, okay, so everybody on YouTube, I'm going to say hi. I'm going to say bye to everybody on YouTube right now and everybody on Facebook. Love you all. Thank you so much for joining on YouTube and Facebook. In the Zoom room, you can stick around because if you want, because I'm going to play one of my hip hop songs that I just produced as we fade out. So this is the fade out music right here. But bye to everybody on social media. Check you guys later. Over and out on social.